Are we admitting people? I think we can start.
Okay na, Kuya Jay. Ayan, magandang umaga po sa ating mga mahal na guro. Maraming salamat po sa patuloy na pagsunod at panonood sa amin at patuloy na pagsusubaybay sa mga webinars at activities ng Filipino Science Hub. Ako po si Janice, isa po akong Pinoy scientist na nakabase ngayon dito sa Amerika. Nasa University of Kansas Medical Center po ako bilang isang postdoctoral fellow. So ngayong umaga po, samahan po ninyo kami, itong mga science experts na magdidiscuss sa atin kung bakit nga ba mahalaga ang maayos at epektibong pagtuturo at paano ba mas mapagbubuti natin ang pagtuturo ng STEM, lalo-lalo na ngayon na hindi normal ang setting ng pagtuturo ng ating mga guro. So yung session natin po for today ay course number 1 ng STEM Teaching Fellowship Program ng Filipino Science Hub. Lahat po ng sessions namin ay for free, so take advantage po sa mga programa ng Filipino Science Hub. So we request, next slide po. We request po na paki-mute at paki-off po ang video during the discussion. We will let you turn on your video sa Q&A later kung may questions po kayo. And please do not record the session as we will post the full video of the event later on after the webinar. Next slide po. And we will also post a Google form link para po makareceive kayo ng certificate of participation for this session. Ilalagay po namin siya sa Zoom chat box, sa YouTube live comments, video description sa YouTube after the session, and please subscribe to FilSciHub's official YouTube channel para po sa mga susunod na events ay makikita niyo po kami. Ayan, so ipapasa ko na po ang stage, ating virtual stage sa aming Kuya CEO and founder, Dr. Jeffrey Bunquin.
Okay, magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Muli, ako po si Jeffrey Bunquin, ang founder ng Filipino Science Hub. So, very quickly, I would like to reintroduce our platform to those who have actually been with us, for the past year, and also para po ipakilala ang aming organisasyon sa mga babago po nating mga participants. So, Filipino Science Hub is an online platform that I founded back in 2012. And its main intention is to promote the cultures of STEM education and research among Filipino teachers and students. So, at the moment po, this platform is actually being led by a team of Filipino scientists based in different parts of the world. So, ako po ay
I think we lost Kuya Jeff for a moment.
I thought that was my internet.
All right. Magandang umaga po. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. And I think we're joined by people from all over the Philippines, from Surigao, Makati, Quezon City, North Cotabato.
And parang bumalik na siya ulit.
Do we have him back?
Kuya Jeff, are you there?
okay, back to me. I'm sorry about
Yes.
that. I don't know what happened. Could be my public internet. Okay, so saan ba ako naputol? Okay, so Filipino Science Hub has one big goal, and that is actually to help build a strong culture of STEM education and research in the Philippines. So ultimately, gusto po natin maging innovation-driven ang Pilipinas. And we approach this with two parallel efforts. So the first of which is to um, uh, elevate the mastery of STEM education and teaching in the Philippines. So our efforts right now are actually centered around the empowerment of our teachers. So kailangan po mas paayos natin ang kapasidad ng ating mga guro na magturo ng STEM sa mas mataas na kalidad. Pangalawa nun po, what the mind knows, the hand should be able to actualize. So dito naman po papasok yung ating programa on research. So we have FilSciHub Research University, and what we do here is we actually bring Filipino scientists and even foreign experts in different STEM areas closer to the Filipino teachers and students para po meron kayong sense of inspiration and how you can apply the things that you learn inside the classroom. So ito po talaga yung ating approach. Okay. Now, to just give you an idea, we've actually been conducting a number of web events for the past year already. So we have already conducted, this is the 31st web event that we're conducting right now. And then the previous ones are actually comprised of teaching webinars, career guidance talks, web lectures, research webinars, as well as STEM special topics. And hindi na po namin masyadong i-detalye ito kasi medyo mahaba po ang ating session today. Lahat po ng ating mga web offerings or web events are recorded, and you can actually access them via our YouTube channel or by visiting our official website, www.filscihub.com. So libre po ang lahat ng aming webinars, hindi po kami nagpapabayad, at lahat po namang ito ay sabi nga namin naka-upload sa aming social media platforms. Pwede niyo po silang panoorin at bisitahin sa kahit anuman pong oras that may actually be most convenient para po sa inyong mga guro at mga mag-aaral. Okay, so ito po talaga yung main intention namin for today. So our main intention today for this morning's talk is to launch Fuse and FilSciHub STEM teaching webinar series. So Fuse po, for the benefit of everyone who may not be familiar with them, Fuse stands for Foundation for the Upgrading of the Standard of Education. And that's actually in the Philippines. So it's an organization based in the Philippines, and it's under the Lushotan group of companies. So very recently po, we actually had a series of meetings, and we came up with a number of collaborative projects. So for this morning po, we're launching this webinar series, and the main objective of these organizations is essentially to elevate the quality of STEM teaching in the Philippines. And so for this webinar series po, we will actually be rolling out training courses on pedagogy to help refresh the minds and the expertise of our teachers po. Paano ba yung tamang paraan ng pagtuturo, lalong-lalo na po sa panahon ng pandemya, sa panahon na hindi tayo nakakapasok sa silid-aralan. Pangalawa naman po is FilSciHub will also come up with practical and innovative strategies for STEM teaching. So dito naman po papasok yung input ng mga scientists. So ito po yung makukuha ninyo ngayon. So it's educational leaders who are great at pedagogy, and then Filipino scientists essentially coming up with tools and strategies that you can actually use in order to elevate the quality of STEM teaching. And sa ngayon po, since we're still finalizing the memorandum of agreement for this collaboration, we will also be joined by one of the premier universities in the Philippines when it comes to education. So hindi pa lang po namin ma-announce yan. So bali 3 organizations po ito. So watch out for further announcement like this coming week or the following, kasi may excite po kayo kung ano pong university, kung aling university ang involved sa atin ngayon. Okay?
Wala bang clue?
Merong P tsaka may U. Parang ganun. Okay. All right. So bale, just to give you guys an idea po sa ating mga guro na nagpa-participate ngayon, these are the training courses that we will be rendering from today up until the end of August. So we'll start with the importance of effective STEM education. It will then be followed by the underpinnings of STEM teaching. So essentially, ito po yung more education-oriented approach. Pangatlo po is a training course on how to create modules, which is actually needed by, not just by STEM teachers, but by everyone in general. The fourth one will be about practical and innovative STEM teaching. So dito naman po papasok yung ating mga Filipino scientists. Ano ba yung mga natutunan namin sa higher education po na pwede nating ilapat sa elementary at saka sa high school level para po mas mapaayos natin ang pagtuturo ng STEM. It will then be followed by a webinar on how to deliver virtual lectures. So isang taon na po halos ang nakaraan simula na nagkaroon ng lockdowns, pero I believe marami pa rin po sa ating mga guro ang medyo nangangailangan ng ganitong mga material kung paano ba talaga yung tamang approach sa pag-deliver ng lecture materials from a distance. So, hindi natin kaharap ang mga estudyante natin. Pang-anim naman po is how to design lab experiments and virtual labs. So again, salitan po ito. General pedagogical training courses followed by training courses for teachers curated and created by Filipino scientists. Pampito naman po is assessment strategies. Mahalaga po ito kasi ngayon ang hirap. Ang hirap i-assess kung natututunan ba talaga ng mga estudyante ang ating mga tinuturo. And then lastly po, we will give you a crash course on research. How do you actually teach research at the high school level? How can you actually infuse some of the very important aspects of STEM teaching during your daily classroom teaching activities for STEM? So ito po yung mga abangan yung training courses for this series. So actually, and if you're familiar with FilSciHub Research University, we have this format for training our teachers and students when it comes to the fundamentals of research. And then one thing that we're arranging for din po, wala pa po itong masyadong mga detalye, but we're also working with FUSE on the accreditation of this webinar series po para makakuha kayo ng CPD units pagkatapos nito. So this is not with finality as of yet, but this is something that we're working towards at sa mga succeeding announcements po namin kapag plansyado na ito, we'll let you guys know kasi alam po namin na mahalaga din po itong mga bagay na ito sa inyo. Okay, so webinar series tayo from May up until August, but then there's a second program. There's a second program that we're also launching, and this is what we call the STEM Teaching Fellowship Program. Actually, FUSE is also part of this, so I'm sorry po kung may nanonood sa mga taga-FUSE. Hindi pa namin nilagay yung logo dito sa slide na to. But then FUSE and our partner university is also involved in this. So essentially, this particular fellowship program aims to provide an opportunity for our teachers to undergo, some form of internship. And at the end of this training program, the expectation is that the teaching fellows who will graduate from it will be able to apply both their pedagogical and practical STEM teaching skills in creating and delivering instructional material. So essentially dito po, the value proposition of this program is such that our teachers will be given the opportunity to be mentored by educational leaders in the Philippines as well as by Filipino scientists from different parts of the world. So, ang mangyayari po dito sa training program na to, hindi lang po kayo natitrain sa educational aspect. May input po from people like us, myself included. We're also trying to use this as a platform to start inculcating the value of collaboration amongst our teachers. So makikita niyo po ito sa design ng program na ito para po dun sa mga matatanggap. And then lastly, at the end of this, part po na requirement for you to be able to graduate is that you're going to be generating high quality STEM teaching materials that will be released or that will be shared on a national educational platform. So yun po, yung sense of ownership and contribution rin to the educational sector is something that we're trying to capture in this particular program. So ito po, dalawang station program. So those are teaching fellows, the selected teaching fellows will have to go through the same webinar series that you guys will be taking up. And then at the end of it will be the internship process. So gagawa kayo ng teacher training, ng teaching modules and materials with the guidance of, as I've said earlier, educational leaders and mentors. So pagkatapos po nitong internship program na to, meron rin siyang kalakip or karampatang CPT units. We're actually working on this as well. And so how can you audition or apply for this teaching fellowship? So essentially, we're asking for you to send us a 2-minute video answering the following questions. So first of which, introduce yourself. Secondly, tell us about your long-term career goals as an educator. And then lastly, what do you expect to gain from this teaching fellowship? So sagutin niyo po yung tatlong tanong na yan sa loob ng 2 minutong video. Yung instruction po kung paano kayo magsasubmit niyan ay nasa amin pong website at nasa aming Facebook page.
So essentially, we're asking.
So the deadline for submission of your video is on June 21st, and then a couple of weeks after that, we will be announcing who actually makes the cut. So medyo limited po yung ating slot dito, but we highly encourage everyone po to send in their application kasi we would like for this pilot program to become successful, kasi kapag po ito ay maayos ang naging resulta, we're hoping to be able to scale this up on a national level. So yun po yung kapupuntahan nito hopefully next year. All right. Ako pa rin to. So now we're actually on to the main event. So why are we gathered here? So ang sabi po namin, the first webinar series actually focuses on the importance of effective STEM teaching. So bakit po ba hindi kami nagsimula dun sa, paano ba ang paggawa ng module? Paano ba ang pag-design ng experiment? We decided to actually not start po with a very technical webinar. We actually are starting with a webinar that answers the question of why. Let's start with the why. Bakit ba natin gagawin to? Bakit ba mahalaga ang epektibong pagtuturo ng STEM courses at ng STEM topics? Bakit mahalagang matutunan ng ating mga estudyante ang STEM sa mas maayos na paraan? And para po sa amin, the way we approach this is that we gathered a team of 8 Filipino scientists po, trained in different STEM areas and who are based in different parts of the world, para po ipakita sa inyo paano po ba kami na-encourage na mag-pursue ng career sa STEM base sa kalidad ng pagtuturo sa high school na naranasan namin. Hindi ko po sinasabing lahat ng naranasan namin pagtuturo ay perpekto mula sa aming mga guro. Pero ito po, kami po bilang mga scientists na nagpa-practice na nito, we are practicing scientists po. So alam namin talaga yung real life impact nito. So ito po yung idedetalye namin sa inyo para sa araw na ito. And there are 8 specific importance of an effective STEM teaching program that we would like to highlight. At ito pong mga 8 importansyang ito, these 8 important aspects ay na-feature po dito sa isang blog which from theadvocate.org. So it actually says 7 benefits of STEM education. Pero pag nakita niyo po then actually there's 8. So to give credit po for that idea, but then ang may expect nyo po sa araw na ito ay hindi lang po ito kami magbabasa or mag-echo nung nakasulat dun sa blog. Ang ginagawa po namin dito is we'll introduce you to each of these of the importance, to each of the 8 importance, and then after that, lalapatan po namin yan ng pansarili naming mga karanasan. Makikita po ninyo sa aming pagbabahagi ng aming kwento, ay, ganun pala yung importansya nun. I should actually be paying attention to this particular skill or this importance sa aking pagtuturo ng STEM sa araw-araw kasi ganun pala yung epekto nun sa mga estudyante. Yun po ang aming gustong ipahatid sa inyo. And then ultimately, sa dulo po ng bawat talk na ito, bibigyan po namin kayo ng tips on how you can actually apply these inside the classroom. Okay, so just to give you an idea, there are 8 of them. So we'll be joined by Dr. Annelid Lopez, who will talk about how an effective STEM teaching program encourages knowledge and application. Marty Mateo will focus on experimentation. Ako po, pangatlo, I will talk about ingenuity and creativity. Professor Joanne Aguila from UPLB will talk about resilience. Dr. Chester Dabalos about problem solving. Dr. Din Devols about the importance of learning adaptability within the STEM classes. And then JP Onya, the penultimate speaker, he'll actually talk about the use of technology. And then we'll cap this webinar off with Professor Michele Lansigan, who'll talk about the importance of teamwork. Okay, so to get started, we'll begin with Dr. Annelid Lopez. So she's actually our first speaker for today. So Dr. Annelid Carrasco, I'm sorry, she's actually married and she's a mom now. She finished her Bachelor's of Agricultural Chemistry degree from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And then after that, she actually taught for a couple of years before she went to grad school at the University of Houston, where she earned both her master's and PhD degree in chemistry. So after getting her PhD here in the US, she actually moved to Michigan, where she worked as a research fellow, as a research scientist. So dun po, she actually worked in the biologic and material sciences department of that university. So she's actually a well-rounded scientist because she has tackled different roles and projects involving organic and analytical chemistry, surface and biomaterials, polymers, surfactants, fracturing, and stimulation additives. So ito po, i-share po ni Miss Annelid Carrasco kung paano ba niya naabot itong mga or na-reach itong mga milestones na to sa pamamagitan ng kanyang mga natutunan sa STEM or sa STEM education. All right, so take it away, Ate Annelid.
Okay, so nasa-share na ba yung screen? Nakikita nyo na siya? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thumbs up. Okay. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon sa lahat ng viewers ng presentation na to. Ang assigned topic sa akin for this session is actually how to encourage knowledge application through STEM education. So pag-iisipin natin, yung topic talaga is yung effective STEM education encourages knowledge application. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin nun para sa atin? Siguro mas magandang tanong is kung paano kung hindi pala effective. So, ano yung manifestation na makikita natin usually sa mga estudyante natin? So, madalas nakikita natin either bored sila, disconnected, distracted, wala silang interest. So kahit magsalita ka, kahit ikwento mo lahat, kahit anong sabihin mo, hindi sila makikinig sa'yo o hindi yun papasok sa mga isip nila. So ano ba yung task natin as educators? It's just simple. Gawin natin kung ano yung hard and complex, gawin natin siyang easy and simple. Diba? Gawin natin yung mga unpleasant na nakikita nila or yung mga perception nila about science and about STEM in general na maging enjoyable for them. And at the same time, yung mga things na disconnected, hindi nila magets kasi wala silang makitang reference point, is gawin nating relatable to them. So in short, for me, ang pinaka-importanting kailangan mong trabahuhin as an educator is to make it a personal experience. So nakikita natin yung dalawang picture dito. Gusto mo ba na every time nagsasalita ka is parang inaantok yung estudyante mo as opposed to very engaged and highly interactive yung klase natin. So syempre mas gusto natin nakikita kasi nakaka-inspire din sa mga teachers na nakikita natin yung mga estudyante na nag-i-interact sa atin, 'di ba? So paano natin yun gagawin? Here, these are some of the thoughts that I kind of compiled, nakita natin to from twigeducation.com na may mga suggestions sila for overcoming challenges in STEM education. So we mentioned in the previous slide na main challenges would be bored yung mga tao, disconnected sila, lack of interest, and talagang wala lang talaga sila, wala para sa kanila yung mga tinuturo mo. So ano yung mga pwede natin gawin as teachers? So the first thing is we teach them young. So sabi nila, yung mga bata, mas madali silang turuan kasi unang-una, curious pa sila. And yung minds nila, madali pa silang mamold. So when we say that we start them young, so yung mga bata, kahit na hindi pa nila talaga maiintindihan yung concept, ang pinaka-importante na gagawin natin is i-introduce natin sila, bibigyan natin sila ng exposure. So for example, lalo na sa mga magulang, actually mas applicable siya sa mga magulang, 'di ba? Kasi sila yung unang teachers sa bahay. So pag nilabas mo yung mga bata, lumabas kayo, nagpunta kayo sa park, so i-describe niyo yung weather, i-describe niyo yung mga plants na nakikita niyo, as simple as that, you can already start teaching STEM to your kids. Second is innovative teaching. So later on in the presentation, actually maraming example. We did this dry run itong talk na to, and I realized na ang dami-daming tips na matututunan nyo on innovative teaching. So usually, mahirap talagang mag-prepare ng curriculum na ituturo, di ba? And ang ating usual default is to do a lecture, no? Sasabihin lang natin, okay, ganito yung mga nangyayari. Okay, ito yung book, basahin nyo siya, tapos ituturo mo, babasahin mo din yung book, or basically just i-discuss mo lang siya. Pero actually, it's very important that you actually put a little bit more effort in trying to innovate in the way you teach the class. So dito, ano yung mga pumapasok dito? Later, meron akong mga tips sa inyo kung paano nyo pwedeng ipakita sa klase nyo yung application ng knowledge. So, paano natin yung gagawin? Meron akong mga examples na ibibigay sa inyo later. Yung topical science naman is more of like you choose some topics that are relevant. So like right now, so pwede nating i-insert yung mga current events. So for example, sa Pilipinas, pagka nangyayari yung mga natural disasters, pwede natin dun isingit yung mga concept ng science and technology natin, di ba? Or yung COVID right now. So pwede natin pag-usapan yung discussion like whether magmamask or not magmamask, di ba? Magpapavaccine, bakit importante yung vaccine? Kasi right now, minsan nakikita natin na yung mga tao nagiging divided sila, hindi nila masyadong naiintindihan. Pero ngayon, kapag ipinapatong na natin yung fundamental ng science to actual reality, yung mga events, doon mas nagiging importante doon sa mga tao at mas naiintindihan nila yung nangyayari. So, then eventually going digital. So digital is actually is trending, di ba? So kahit na ano pang sabihin natin, yung mga bata, yun na siguro yung fastest and quickest way to engage them. Kasi interested sila dito. It's not really something new, pero hindi pa kasi sa kanila masyadong na-open up yung idea na going digital. So nakikita ko kahit dun sa mga anak ko na, mahilig silang mag-iPad, mahilig silang manood, mahilig silang gumawa ng kahit ano sa computer. And actually, if you use this method sa way of teaching mo, study shows na nakaka-reduce din siya ng time for preparation of materials for teaching. And then finally is erasing gender divide. So right now, actually, wini-welcome ng science ang all genders. So tapos na yung time wherein dapat ang male, sila lang yung nagiging engineer, Actually ngayon, sa field ko, even yung mga babae, nasa field sila. They stay like even the most exotic places para mag-work as either a field engineer or a chemist, yung ganon. So, wala na yun. Ngayon, wini-welcome na natin ang lahat ng gender. So, dapat kahit sa klase natin, ini-engage natin at lalo na pag nagkakaroon ng expression yung mga estudyante natin, to what profession they wanted to go to later on. So pinakikinggan natin yun at lalo natin ini-encourage yung mga bata dun sa mga gusto nilang gawin. Kasi kapag nakikita ng mga bata na ini-encourage natin sila, lalo silang nagmo-motivate na mag-work hard para mag-achieve. So while I was preparing itong presentation, I've come across this quote. Sabi dito, knowledge is like paint. It does no good until it is applied. Oo nga naman. So, for example, ako yung teacher and then sinasabi ko sa inyo ngayon, so what is paint? So then I'll describe it. Paint is actually a colored liquid, is substance. It contains pigments, binders, extenders, solvent, and additives. So kung ikaw ang estudyante, so what? Diba? So ano sa'yo yun? Oh, ang matatandaan mo siguro doon sa mga sinabi ko, yeah, it's colored substance. It's very obvious. Pero once you started and continue on by saying, for example, yung paint is actually used saan? So it can actually decorate, protect, prolong the life of natural and synthetic materials and surfaces. And also it can serve as a barrier against environmental hazard. Once you start saying things like that, nagkakaroon na ng purpose yung paint. And from then, naiisip nila, okay, so maganda siya, iba-ibang kulay, no? Pwede nga naman siyang pang-decorate. Saan ba siya madalas ginagamit? Okay, nagpipaint tayo ng bahay. Bakit nagpipaint ng bahay? Dahil lang ba gusto natin siyang pagandahin? Well, that's one though. Kasi namimili tayo ng kulay ng bahay, di ba? Yun na ipipaint. Then, ang kotse, bakit nilalagyan ng paint? Of course, it's protecting yung surface. it's preventing some sort of corrosion or it's delaying corrosion. So yung mga things like that, we are starting to activate the brain. Nagkakaroon ng purpose yung statement mo. So it's the same as knowledge, di ba? Yung knowledge ng STEM education. What we want to do is hindi lang tayo nagbibigay ng definition. We're trying to actually build that connection. Nagkakaroon tayo ng purpose, and by having that purpose, nagbibigay yun ng value dun sa pinag-uusapan natin. So yun yung gusto nating mangyari sa mga estudyante kapag ka nagtuturo tayo ng STEM. So as I mentioned before, so ito yung mga strategies na pwede natin gawin sa class natin. So first is learning through failure. A lot of times, pag teacher ka, you would encourage your student to be successful. But why would I recommend, for example, that you do your class such as a way na encourage mo yung failure? So for example, if I'm your teacher, I will ask you, okay, do something that, like make some building that will fail, like will fall, or a bridge that will fall, or like a tunnel that will flood. Hindi mo yun gagawin. But then you realize now when you do that, when you teach somebody, if they actually know how to make it fail, then they would know how to make it better. And how yun, parang naiintindihan nila talaga yung process. So yun, pwede niyong gawin, for example, pagka nagtuturo kayo, ask them, for example, to do sa nutrition, give me an example of a bad diet. So parang negative yung ask mo, but then the truth is yung learning process is different, di ba? So mas natututunan nila siya. Pwede mo rin gawin yung critical debate. So debate is pretty much asking them to have a conversation on controversial issues. Again, yung sinabi kong example before, yung to mask or to not mask, di ba? Or to vaccine or not vaccine. So, and then yun makikita mo kung ano yung magiging mga points ng mga estudyante mo, paano sila mag-isip. And from there, hindi lang yung nakikita mo kung naiintindihan nila yung mga sinasabi nila, at the same time, nagkakaroon ka rin ng perspective kung ano yung mga values ng mga estudyante na hawak mo. The third point is brain drain, or it's almost similar to a brainstorming. So in this case, pwede ka sigurong mag-pick ng scenario, and then you try to ask them what do they think about it. And for example, ano yung mga implications. So for example, ang topic ko is a natural disaster. So bakit siya nangyayari? Anong mga pwede natin gawin during that time, di ba? So magkakaroon kayo ng mga brainstorming sessions, pwede silang magsulat sa mga post-it, ito yung mga naiisip nila, and then let them present it in an organized way. So in that way, iba-iba yung mga strategies na gagawin mo, pero at the same time, mas magiging interactive yung classes ninyo. Merong isa pa dito na strategy, we call it like point counterpoint. Pwede natin itong gawin siguro sa klase na pwede mong gawin actually sa whole class mo. It's almost like a recitation type. So dun sa point counterpoint, so again, you talk about one issue na, para lang siyang debate, but instead of having like one group versus the other, ang gagawin mo is like just one person starts the conversation about a very important topic, and then call another person and then ask them to counter the point of the first person. And then from there, make everybody kind of list like the points that they find strong and the points that they think that, it's not making quite sense. So after that, then yun, isang way din yun para makita mo kung paano mag-isip yung mga estudyante mo. And of course, there's always the presentation. Presentation is kind of being usual na, pero we can always be creative, record, do live demos type. And then simulations. So usually ang naisip natin sa simulations, medyo technical, no? Things that you do in computer, but it doesn't have to be really. So just think about like trying to create a scenario out of a real situation. So pwedeng, for example, yung reenactment ng mga CPR, di ba? So you can actually make them do that, but it's actually a simulation of somebody having an actual heart attack, or pwede rin naman kung sa math, for example, so medyo science yung background ko, but then for example sa math, you can actually teach them to how to invest, use simulations and do some kind of investment. So para mas maging interesting for them. And the rest of this case study, then we can find studies that are available online, or we can actually use movies for mas nakaka-engage din yung panoorin nila, and then instead of like book report na ginagawa natin for literature classes, yung movie applications. So some of them are like yung Lorax is about forest, yung Armageddon is about end of the world. So you can see pretty much from these movies na meron din naman silang malalearn, and then let them figure out what's the science behind it, and then make it a topic to present in class. So these are just some of the strategies na pwede nyong i-apply for STEM classes that will actually, show some application at mas makaka-relate yung estudyante nyo. Ngayon, gusto kong mag-share sa inyo a little bit of ano naman yung personal opportunities ko for knowledge application. So having the background ng agricultural chemistry, it's very natural for me na ang first application of my research of my bachelor's degree is on post-harvest or related sa agriculture, partly chemistry. So here, I was extending shelf life of fruits kasi very important siya, not just for consumption, for food consumption, but at the same time for export. After that, Jeff mentioned that I've also worked as an educator, so nagturo din ako. So in that way, I was a teacher for 3 years of general chemistry, organic and analytical chemistry sa UPLB. Ito yung set ng mga estudyante ko na I'm very proud of them because until now, we still interact. And you would think na, we still consult on each other's about yung mga experiences namin naman ngayon. So yun ay nagiging interaction ko sa mga estudyante ko. After that, moving here, yung application naman, it becomes biomedical application. So ang naging research ko kasi is more on surface antimicrobial polymers and bacterial interaction. So right now, all of yung mga research ko is being applied for infectious diseases involving biomedical devices. And moving on, I have been working in the industry for the last 9 years. And right now, ang nagagamit ko naman na knowledge is how to solve problems, processes, simplification, at saka product development. Now, more than all of this, I can also use whatever knowledge that I have acquired from STEM, hindi lang siguro yung knowledge, but at the same time yung skills that I got from it to volunteer opportunities. So all in all, I would say I love being a scientist and I love to share kung ano yung mga natutunan ko. And hopefully, dun sa first part nitong session na to, meron kayong nakuha on how to apply yung knowledge application. So having an effective education, STEM education, how can it help encourage knowledge application? But siguro yung pinaka main event for me, I would say is yung biggest challenge ko is yung being a mom, is how to promote fun and interactive practical learning for my kids. So siguro makikita nyo na may pagka STEM lover talaga ang mom nila. So sa bahay, naggagawa kami ng mga mini experiments. Tinatry kong ilagay yung kanilang mga energy and interest into something that they can also learn and fun for them, interactive and practical. So maraming opportunities dito rin. So nung pandemic, we have to default to things like this, what is available. At the same time, I also encourage them to look at like yung mga online education na available. So you can see, I'm also a supporter of yung even Nintendo, no? Kasi siguro sinasabi natin before, wag masyadong mag-computer. So this yung Nintendo game na to, I really like it in a way because parang you start making the stuff. So meron siyang aspect na you have to build before you can even play. And from that, you can already discover stuff. So again, with my kids, I'm also doing a lot of experimentation. Kaya wala talagang one size fits all. Kailangan talaga i-try natin kung ano yung mag-fit at magiging effective. So hopefully may na-learn kayo dun sa first part of the session. And pretty much, pupuntahan na natin yung next topic, which is experimentation. And that will be discussed by Mr. Marty Mateo. So siya yung isa sa mga best speaker na maririnig nyo ngayong gabi and very enthusiastic speaker about this topic. So he graduated from University of the Philippines, Los Baños with a BS in chemistry. He's a registered chemist, a university researcher. He's a head chemist right now of Institute of Plant Breeding, and meron siyang 6 publication and 2 peer-reviewed papers. So, welcome natin si Marty.
Ayan, thank you for the warm introduction, Ma'am Annelid. And parang ikaw yung mahirap sundan because of your great presentation earlier. So let me just share my slide first. Nakikita nyo ba yung shared ano? Kuya JP?
Nag-share pa lang siya.
Okay. So,
The presentation.
Oh,
Ayan na.
Yes,
Yep.
Jana.
okay.
It's up there.
So we'll kick off from what Ma'am Annelid discussed. So yung knowledge application, this is actually the actualization part or the application part of your knowledge application. So I will go to the next topic of the one of the most important elements of an effective STEM program is to have or to encourage experimentation. So meron tayong mga topics na diniscuss before in FilSciHub University about ideation and how to make an effective proposal. In fact, meron nga tayong Lions Den competition about ideas, scientific problems. But all of that will just be, your ideas will just be on your paper, your ideas will just be on your mind, and your ideas will just be stagnant if you will not perform an experimentation. So experimentation will transform your ideas into reality. So kumbaga, ang actualization and realization of your ideas will be realized once you do experimentation. So let me define first experimentation. This is a definition from the study of Tai in 2014. Sabi niya, experimentation is best known way to test the veracity of scientific theories, eliminate alternative explanations, engineer novel solutions to practical problems, and provide clues to causal inferences. So, 4 yung sinabi dyan na sinosolve or ini-aim ng experimentation. Number 1, to test the veracity of scientific theories. Ibig sabihin, you test for the accuracy of those theories. Accurate ba yung sinasabi ng theory na to? Meron bang mga lapses, etc. So, isa yun sa mga aim ng experimentation. Number 2, eliminate alternative explanation. So, kung may natural phenomena and meron mga maraming explanations kung bakit nangyayari yung phenomena na yon, pwede natin siyang ma-eliminate yung mga hindi tamang explanations through experimentation. And number 3, to engineer novel solutions to practical problems. So, basically, finding a solution to a problem is solved by experimentation. And number 4, it can provide clues to causal inferences kasi minsan, along the way in our experiments, meron tayong mga side observations na nakikita na hindi natin, kumbaga parang interesting observations. So pwede siyang clues to causal inferences. So 4, based on technical definitions, 4 yung ini-aim ng experimentation. On a practical note, sinabi ni Isaac Asimov, an American science fiction writer and also a biochemistry professor, sabi niya, experimentation is the least arrogant method of gaining knowledge. The experimenter asks a question of nature. So, in essence, sabi niya, ang experimentation daw ay sumasagot sa isang or nag-generate ng knowledge about isang specific phenomenon of nature. So nakita niyo yung dalawang definition on a more technical side and on a more practical side. But these are very good definitions of experimentation. So to give you a concrete example, of course, kung paano na-apply ng mabuti ang experimentation, of course, you know Thomas Alva Edison and the light bulb. Syempre, hindi naman from the ideation of Thomas Edison na bigla na lang siyang or napakadali niyang ma-form itong light bulb. Dumaan muna siya sa maraming processes. So from his idea, going to this, 1878 nung na-ideate niya yung tungkol sa light bulb. And after quite some time, marami siyang ginawang experimentation according to the accounts of Thomas Alva Edison. Maraming nabagong design, maraming na-engineer na bagong parameters para makagawa siya ng light bulb. In fact, itong light bulb na unang nagawa niya noong 1879, so that's 1 year of experimentation. nagtagal siya ng 13 hours, yung una niyang, kumbaga, prototype na light bulb. Pero dumaan muna siya sa napakaraming experimentation, hundreds if not thousands of experimentation to produce that. And after that, after ma-invent niya tong light bulb, ang ginawa naman niya is an electrical system. So, since may light bulb na siya, gumawa naman siya ng wires, sockets, and plugs para magkaroon talaga siya ng effective electrical system. So, as a researcher, I practice experimentation a lot. So, ito yung mga projects na involved ako right now and the experiments that I am doing. So, I am doing experiments in different varieties of corn. Kung makikita nyo, iba't iba siya ng kulay. So, ang mga experiments na ginagawa ko, gusto kong malaman kung alin yung pinaka-nutritious sa mga corn na yan, sa corn na, ito actually are native corns. Ibig sabihin, dito siya galing sa Pilipinas, sa iba't ibang parts ng Pilipinas, and they are not introgressed or hindi pa siya napapasukan ng BT na gene. So, ibig sabihin, native talaga siya dito sa Pilipinas. So, yun yung experiments na ginagawa namin right now, kung anong pinaka-nutritious na variety ng corn. Lalo na dyan sa pigmented corn kasi may hype dyan ngayon, katulad ng mga pigmented rice. And also, meron naman din kaming project sa indigenous fruits. Ito naman, hindi tayo masyadong familiar kasi baka hindi present sa ating places or sa provinces. Pero meron tayong mga ganitong fruits like katmon, agimit, bignay, and biantok. So, tinitingnan namin kung nag-experiment kami kung meron silang different bioactivities, kung may antioxidant activity ba sila, may anti-cancer activity, may anti-hypertensive activity. So, if I'm not mistaken, one of our members, si Dr. Israel, may study siya sa katmon on the anti-hypertensive activity of katmon. So, yun ang mga experiments na ginagawa ko right now. Pero hindi yan yung pinakamalaking experiment na ginagawa ko. So, can you guess kung ano yung pinakamalaking experiment na ginagawa ko? Ang pinakamalaking experiment na ginagawa ko is actually my life. My life is my biggest experiment. So, sabi nga ni Ma'am Annelid kanina, make it personal for you to have an effective STEM program. So, sa everyday life natin, we test for something. So, tinetest natin kung mag-work ba to or hindi. So, every decisions in life, short-term decisions, long-term decisions, meron tayong perceived goal or meron tayong perceived na result dun sa mga ginagawa natin. So my life is my biggest decision, and actually your life is my life is my biggest experiment. Your life is also your biggest experiment. So make the most out of your life. Experiment on your life na mas marami pa kayong ma-explore na bagay. Para you should, at the end of life, parang masasabi mo sa sarili mo na wala kang pinagsisisihan dahil na-try mo lahat, na-experiment mo lahat. So, now, how do we encourage naman experimentation in the class setup and also in STEM classes? So, the first one that I have put here is diminished fear. Sabi ni W. Clement Stone, thinking will not overcome fear, but actions will. So remember, nung mga estudyante pa tayo, kapag first time natin gumawa ng experiment, parang takot na takot tayo. Takot tayo magkamali, takot tayo na hindi natin makuha yung result na ideal. Pero sabi dyan, actions will actually diminish fear. So pag paulit-ulit mong ginagawa yung experiment mo, kapag ka naging confident ka na sa ginagawa mo, eventually mawawala na yung fear na yan and magiging comfortable ka na sa experimentation. Also, let me point out na siguro maraming nakaranas sa atin ito nung nasa high school tayo or nasa college tayo. Yung teachers natin will always put a price tag on the equipment, on the glassware, sa lahat ng ginagamit natin. So parang sa atin, kung baga, halimbawa, nalaman natin na yung burette is 10,000 or yung SEP funnel is 7,000. Siyempre, parang kakabahan ka na dun, di ba? Parang, ay, bawal ako magkamali or bawal ko mabasag to. So baka hindi na lang ako gumawa kasi pagka nakabasag ako, magbabayad ako ng ganito kalaking amount. I think we should foster more or we should discuss more about being careful on the experiment rather than putting price tags on those equipment and materials. Kasi ang nangyayari minsan, nagiging display na lang yung mga beaker, nagiging display na lang yung graduated cylinder sa school, hindi naman nagagamit ng mga estudyante. So, what's the point of buying those things kung hindi naman ginagamit? Also, wag na tayo mag-induce ng fear, yung being strict and nag-induce tayo ng fear sa mga estudyante natin. We should have an enabling environment for the students to do experiments. Huwag na natin silang sitahin kung ano, kumbaga parang let them experience the experimentation process. Kung magkamali sila, okay lang, or kung hindi man nila makuha yung gusto nilang result, okay lang. Which brings me to my next point, which is actually take the first step. So minsan kasi we are building a wall, an invisible wall of fear sa atin na parang hindi natin kayang gawin yan. So if you hurdle that first wall of fear sa experimentation, tuloy-tuloy na yan. It will be a spontaneous reaction. So kumbaga sa organic chemistry, meron ka lang dapat i-hump na activation energy, and after that, tuloy-tuloy na yung paggawa mo ng experiment. Sabi dito, the true method of knowledge is experiment. So you cannot gain knowledge without experimentation. And the third point, normalized failure. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina sa mga teachers natin. Although merong mga ideal results and although merong mga steps na kailangan gawin, parang step-by-step process, minsan syempre allow our students to make mistakes. Hindi naman nandiyan ang students para maging perfect eh. Kaya nga sila tinawag na students because the main purpose of being a student is to learn. Okay? Sinabi dyan, there is no such thing as failure. Ang ibig sabihin ng fail is your first attempt in learning. So ibig sabihin kapag may ginawa ka na hindi align yung results dun sa ideal result, you will learn from it. And by constantly doing it, pwedeng matutunan mo na yung tamang proseso because you learn from your mistakes. Cliche as it may sound, pero talagang we learn from our mistakes. Sabi nga dyan, sabi sa quote, people who succeed fail more than anyone else. Because alam na nila yung proseso. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Annelid kanina, kapag alam mo kung paano gumawa ng structure na magfe-fail, alam mo rin kung paano gumawa ng structure na magwo-work kasi alam mo yung process behind it. Okay? And then the last point that I would like to make is you should have a growth mindset. Sabihin natin sa mga estudyante natin that there's no such thing as I can't do it. There's just I can't do it yet. So isang word lang ang pinagkaiba nun, but that word yet is very powerful. Binibigyan mo ng chance yung estudyante mo na maitama or makapunta dun sa gusto niyang paratingan. So, kailangan when you do mistakes, you learn from it and then you bounce back the next time, you repeat your experiment. Siguro, hindi mo makuha ngayon, but siguro tomorrow or the next day, when you do the experiment again, makukuha mo na yung gusto mong result. So, allow your students to learn. Hindi pwedeng dahil nagkamali lang siya, you reprimand them or bigyan mo sila ng failing marks. Kung alam naman nila kung asan sila nagkamali, di ba? Kaya nga tayo may mga laboratory reports. Tinitingnan natin kung paano nila in-explain kung bakit nagkaroon sila ng maling result dun sa ideal or nagde-deviate dun sa ideal. So, ang grading should not be because nakuha nila yung tamang result. Kasi baka mamaya, dayain nila yung result nila para lang masabing nakuha nila yung result. The grading should be how the students explain kung anong nangyari dun sa experiment. Whether they arrive to the right result or whether they arrive to the wrong result. So grading should be that way. And to emphasize more the importance of experimentation, these are the important products of constant experimentation, hard work, and innovation na nai-enjoy natin right now. So we have airplanes, space shuttles, medicines, of course, yung light bulb kanina, the vaccines, ang cellphones na hindi natin mabitaw-bitawan, and of course, yung TV natin. So that's how important experimentation is. You yield products and you actualize your ideas from your experimentation. Without experimentation, we will not have vaccines. Siyempre, iba't ibang trials, yung ang daming layer ng trials na kailangan niyang pagdaanan bago natin siya makuha. We will not have medicines. We will not have, of course, yung ating mga cell phones, and airplanes. So with that, I'd like to close my talk. And let's go to the next topic and the next presenter. I guess hindi na kailangang i-introduce itong next speaker natin, but I will still do so. Our next speaker is our CEO and founder. So Dr. Jeff Bunquin is also a graduate of chemistry at UPLB and finished his PhD degree at University of Alberta. And he has 14 plus years of research experience combined in academe and government and also in the industry, and numerous publications with numerous citations. So without further ado, I'll give the floor, the virtual floor to Dr. Jeff Bonkin. Kuya Jeff?
Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me? Narinig
Yes,
niyo ako?
Kuya. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll take over and share my screen then. Alright. Okay. So magandang umaga po uli sa inyo lahat. Back to me. So na naman. Ako po talaga yung pagsasawaan nyo na yung pagmumukha ko kasi lagi nyo naman ako nakikita. So okay. So this time around, allow me to talk about two very important qualities of and I don't know if I would call it like skill. No? These are two very important I guess like traits or skills that pwede po na ninyong maituro bilang mga guro sa ating mga mag-aaral. Ito po napakahalaga po talaga nitong dalawang to. I'm talking about ingenuity and creativity. For your information po actually, creativity is actually one of the three most important skills na kailangan po na ating mga bata para sa pag nagkaroon sila ng trabaho 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. So I cannot give enough emphasis to this po. So it actually excites me to talk about this at para po maipahatid sa inyong mga guro that you play a very crucial role kung paano po talaga natin ito matuturo sa ating mga mag-aaral. And allow me to say, creativity and ingenuity is not only useful for STEM. Mahalaga po ito sa fine arts, mahalaga po ito sa iba't iba pa pong mga larangan. So it's actually how we exercise those muscles amongst our students. So mahalaga po yan. Pero bago po tayo dumako dun sa nilalaman ng aking presentation, let's talk about the definition of these two terms. So the first of which is ingenuity. So ito po, nakuha po natin ito from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So ingenuity is actually defined as, may dalawang definition po dito, skill or cleverness in devising or combining. So how you can actually use different components at pagsamasamahin po sila, ganun po yung definition niya. Second definition is the cleverness or aptness of design or contrivance. So essentially po, in layman's term po, dito, paano ba natin naiintindihan ang mga bagay-bagay, yung mga inventions natin, for example, sa STEM? Ano ba yung mga elemento niyan? Ano ba yung bumubuo? Paano ba sila pinagsama-sama for them to form a functional material? So ito po yung mahalagang bagay na in as early as at the elementary or high school level, pwede po natin talaga itong maturo sa ating mga kabataan. So that's it. It's learning the process of building. That is ingenuity. Creativity, on the other hand naman po, it's considered as a higher level of thinking kasi it's about how a person thinks outside of the box, how a person can come up with something that is original, how a person can visualize something that no one has ever thought of before. So ito po yung mga mahalagang definition noon. Paano ba tayo makakapag-isip ng mga bagay na wala pang nakakaintindi? Paano ba tayo makakapag-isip ng mga disenyo na wala pang nakaisip kahit kailanman? So ito po yung creativity, and allow me to emphasize the fact that ingenuity and creativity, they go hand in hand. So ipapakita ko po yan sa inyo maya-maya. And okay. Alright, so gaya po na sinasabi ng ating mga naunang speakers, si Ate Annelid at si Marty, we have to start our students young. We have to inculcate these values and skills amongst our students in as early as possible. And bakit po ba ganoon? Kasi kapag naturuan nyo sila ng mas maaga, kahit hindi nila alam na tinatrain nyo sila sa ingenuity at creativity, ang result po noon, pagdating nila ng high school at college at pagka-graduate nila sa kolehiyo, with the snap of a finger, madali po sila makakapag-isip ng mga ideas. So ito po talaga yan. We have to exercise those muscles. We have to develop those muscles in as early as possible such that pagdating po nila ng kolehiyo at saka ng high school, second nature na lang po yun. Parang lang silang humihinga. Parang humihinga na lang sila at ang lumalabas sa kanila po ay mga ideas. And I would like to emphasize like a couple of statements here. So the world will not advance without human creativity and ingenuity. So gaya nga po nung sinabi ni Marty kanina, walang COVID vaccine kapag wala tayong creative at ingenuous na mga tao, mga scientists, engineers, and those even like people involved in on the business side. These skills enable man to create original ideas and invent disruptive innovation. So wala pa akong kanote na scientist yun kasi ako po yung nagsulat niyan. Anyways, so yun po, hindi tayo makaka-create if we're not creative. Hindi po tayo makaka-invento kung hindi tayo creative. Imposible po yun. Kasi kung if we don't have creative thinkers, if we don't have original thinkers, ang magagawa po natin ay paulit-ulit lang po na revision lang po ng mga nauna. Ang tawag po doon ay incremental improvement. May paunti-unting pagbabago sa ating mga ginagawa, pero kung wala po tayong creative thinkers, siguro po wala tayong computer ngayon. Baka po gumagamit pa rin tayo ng kahoy sa ating pagluluto. Yung po mga bagay na yan na bumago sa buhay ng sangkatauhan ay produkto po ng pag-iisip ng creative thinkers. Okay. So, pero mahalaga po kasi na tayong mga guro naiintindihan talaga natin ano ba tong ingenuity, ano ba yung creativity, ano ba pinagkaiba-iba nito. So, ingenuity is actually recognizing patterns and design elements of a particular material or structure or a concept and then applying them in building. So, yung pinaka-simple pong analogy na mabibigay ko sa inyo, pag binilhan niyo po ng Lego box ang inyong mga anak, pag nakita niyo po yun, typically meron po dong instructional material na pinapakita, okay, you can start by building this model. So, meron pong models na pinoprovide. And ang role po ng models na yan is to actually show our students or everyone, kahit po mga matatanda, how you can actually use the Lego pieces, piece them up together to come up with a structure that's actually based on a design. And yun po yung ingenuity. It's learning. Paano mo ba pinagdidikit-dikit tong Lego models? Paano mo ba sila pinagsama-sama such that yung end product is something na, ay, okay, this represents something or this has a function. Meron itong kagamitan. Yun po ang ingenuity. It's actually how we teach our students the process of building, how the parts come together to form a functional unit. Okay, so pagdating naman po sa creativity, sabi ko nga higher level thinking, kapag natutunan na ng ating mga estudyante kung paano ba ang pag-build based on design elements, based on design principles, dito na papasok yung creativity. Ano po. So paano, dadating yung point na yung Lego box na binili ninyo na merong model na susundan or ikokopyahin ng inyong mga anak, kapag nasanay na sila, they will start building models of their own. Even models that no one has ever actually constructed before. So for example, dati po bahay yung ginagawa nila, baka naman yung gagawin nila this time around is actually a spaceship. So ito po yung pinagkaiba ng ingenuity at creativity. But then, again, I would like to emphasize these two go hand in hand. Kasi po, may mga tao who are creative thinker who don't necessarily have the ability to build. You know, so nakikita nila yung endpoint, nakikita nila yung final state, pero hindi nila alam how they can actually use the resources available to them para buuin yung kanilang konsepto. Kaya po mahalagang ito na parehas po natin itong natuturo sa ating mga estudyante. Okay. So, lahat po ng mga nauna kong mga kasamahan ay nag-share na kanilang experiences sa kung paano ba nila ginamit. For example, kay Ate Annelid yung knowledge application, kay Marty yung experimentation naman. Now, this time around, I would actually allow you to take a peek at my thought process. Paano po ba ako nag-iisip? Kasi ang akin pong trabaho, I'm actually a practicing scientist. So on a daily basis, I'm actually thinking, my mind is functioning to create because doon po ako pinapasahod. Okay. And specifically, I will share with you some of my Lego building moments involved in how we actually establish Filipino Science Hub. So a year ago po, when they announced global lockdowns, alam ko lang yung intention ko. Gusto kong makatulong. So alam ko po na yung mga teachers at mga students natin sa Pilipinas magagaling. Ngayon na nagkaroon ng pandemic, paano ba natin sila matutulungan such that hindi naman impacted yung quality ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto ng ating mga guro at mag-aaral. So alam ko lang na andito yung challenges, maraming kakulangan, kaya nilang makarating sa next level. How do we actually help them get to the next level? So dito na po papasok yung ating creativity at ingenuity. And so since ang primary challenge po sa atin back then is nagkaroon ng distance ng countrywide distance education mandate, obviously po kailangan ng mga guro natin ng tulong. So kailangan nila ng teaching tools and techniques on how they can transition to the new normal mode of teaching. And then pangalawa, yun po mga traditional na mga materials na ginagamit nila sa pagtuturo, hindi na po yun accessible to them. And so dito ko na po siguro pre-practice yung ingenuity. So ang una pong ginawa ko dyan is, nag-isip ako, ano ba yung mga platforms or resources available out there? So for example, teaching tools and techniques, during that time, ang Vibal group po, they were very active in rolling out teaching webinars, gabay para sa ating mga guro. So that's actually like that's highly appreciated that ang ganda po ng ginagawa nila. On the other hand po, there are also some open access resource materials, specifically lecture videos po, available sa YouTube. So if you're familiar with the Khan Academy, if you're familiar with Crash Course Science, so they all exist. But then, kami po, ang advocacy namin sa Filipino Science Hub ay specific sa STEM. So siguro po nakita namin dito na, okay, these are actually very functional organizations. But then, ang konsepto naman po natin ay hindi sila palitan or hindi sila kalabanan kasi they're working. So we don't have to recreate the wheel if the wheel is still functional, kung maayos pa naman po siya. But then ang naisip po namin, siguro po makakatulong na mag-focus tayo sa ating mga guro sa STEM. So dito na po pumasok yung ating ingenuity. Inaral natin kung paano ba yung proseso ng Vibal, kung paano ang proseso ng Crash Course Science at ng Khan Academy. But then meron po tayong tweakings, meron lang po tayong pag-adjust ng konti para po yung paglapat ng mga material na gagawin natin ay saktong-sakto sa pangangailangan ng mga guro natin sa Pilipinas sa STEM area. So pagdating po sa teaching tools and techniques, nag-imbita po tayo ng mga guro mula sa iba't ibang parte ng bansa para po magbigay ng tulong or ng paggabay kung ano ba yung magagamit ng mga nasa Pilipinas sa pagtuturo during the pandemic. But then, nagdagdag po kami kasi it's also very important to prepare our teachers psychologically. Kailangan po ang mental preparation talaga ay nandun in as early as possible. Pagdating naman po sa STEM lectures, Crash Course Science and Khan Academy, they're actually wonderful platforms. But then the issue is the language barrier. At dun po papasok yung Tagalog-English web lectures natin kasi mahirap na po ang science in and of itself. But then kung yung language barrier medyo ating matatanggal or mapapababa, siguro po mas maraming mga matututong mga guro at mas madaling matututunan ng mga estudyante natin ang ating mga material. But then, okay, so we were able to establish these things. Ang mga guro po natin ay sumusubaybay sa ating mga ginagawa sa FilSciHub. But then ako po, as I told you, hindi po ako nakakampante if I'm not building something. Ganun po, siguro po there's something wrong with me. Aligaga po ako, dapat meron ako laging binubuo at ginagawa. So, na nakikita po namin, okay, it's making an impact. The question is, sapat na po ba yun? Sapat bang binibigyan mo lang ng material ang ating mga guro? Sapat bang binibigyan mo sila ng mga gabay kung paano sila makakapagturo ng maayos? Pero nakita rin po kasi namin, is this approach sustainable? Kasi, ang nangyayari po dyan, baka binibigyan mo lang sila ng material, pero how do they steward that? Passionate ba talaga sila sa science? Alam ba nila kung paano i-apply yung kanilang ginagawa? So by just providing them with materials that they can use on a daily basis does not ensure that matuturuan natin sila ng synthetic mindset or maging creative ang mga Pilipinong estudyante, pati na rin ang ating mga guro. So dito na po pumasok yung ating yung idea of bringing something new. So dito na po sa naisip ko, okay, scientists kami. May mga kaibigan kaming scientists. We're part of a big community. We can actually bring that community and connect them to the Filipino teachers and students. So ito na po, dito na pumasok yung original thinking kasi to the best of our knowledge, wala pa pong ibang organizations or platforms na gumagawa nito na nagpapakilala po sa inyo ng mga inspirational figures para po kayo ay matuto kung paano i-apply ang inyong mga natututunan sa klase. And this actually gave way to the birth of the Filipino Science Hub Research University. And what we do here is we provide trainings po para sa ating mga guro. Fundamental research trainings at ang objective po namin dito is to bring out the scientists in everyone, to bring out the scientists in our teachers. Kasi for them to be able to convince our students to become scientists, kailangan we should be able to unleash the scientists in them. And we don't stop there. Hindi lang po namin kayo tinuturuan kung paano ba yung research. We also introduce to you the modern day heroes of STEM. So meron po tayo dyan mga special topics, nagpapa-webinar po tayo with Filipino scientists and even foreign experts in the different areas of the sciences. So yan po yung I believe one of the most suitable representation kung paano po ba natin magagamit yung ingenuity and creativity. And as I was telling you, I'm proud to say that the Filipino Science Hub strategy is an original one. It's a trailblazing effort that's actually put together by the minds of all of these wonderful Filipino scientists that you actually get to experience today. So, balance po ang approach natin. Para makabuo ng kultura, dapat pinupuno ang isip, dapat pinapagaling ang mga kamay. Yun po ang aking personal experience. And okay, so mabalik po tayo. Paano nyo ba i-foster ang creativity and ingenuity sa klase? So ito po yung 3 points that I would like to emphasize. So the first of which is adapt project-based learning. So hindi ko po masyadong i-discuss to because like there's a couple of other speakers who will talk more talk about this on at a greater detail. So ang mahalaga po kasi dito is now that we have access to a bunch of resources, to a bunch of information, we can start adapting a paradigm shift in how we teach STEM. So sa halip po dati na okay tayo sa lesson plan, nag-iisip tayo, ito yung classroom activity na ipapagawa ko sa mga estudyante, may set of instructions, meron nang nakalista na ito yung outcomes to expect, and then yun na, ilalatag mo lang sa estudyante. How about give them the freedom to foster their creativity? So halip po na mag-assign kayo ng experiments or classroom activities sa parang robot yung mga susunod. How about you come up with projects that will give them the freedom na, okay, ito yung topic na aaralin natin ngayon. How about you demonstrate it using a science project? Ganoon. How about you demonstrate the concept leveraging your creativity? I'm hoping that ito po sana gawin na rin natin sa klase. Kasi this time around, our students will be involved in the design of their experiments. They'll be involved in the design of their projects. Secondly po is maker activities combined with STEM lessons. So for example, sa halip po na magtuturo kayo, ile-lecture nyo lang, okay, ito yung mga factors affecting the growth of or the germination of a seed or the growth of a plant. How about you actually challenge them? Okay, you localize your experiments based on what's relevant to your community. So for example, sa halip na i-lecture nyo po yung tamang pagtatanim or pag-aalaga ng halaman, how about you challenge them? Okay, buong group, you divide yourself up, you're gonna come up with different ways of growing a particular plant. Yung mga halaman or mga gulay na mahalaga para sa ating mga magsasaka. And base doon sa pag-aaral ninyo, kung ano man yung matutunan natin, susulat tayo ng report, atin yung i-share sa ating mga magsasaka na hindi nakapag-aaral. Yun po yung mga pamamaraan kung paano po ninyo babaguhin yung paraan ng pagtuturo ng STEM such that you provide them with the space for them to practice their ingenuity and creativity. Pangatlo po, encourage creativity via team activities po. So ito po, Professor Michele Lansigan will talk about this later in greater detail. But then, ang gusto ko lang po kasing sabihin sa inyo dito is, karamihan po ng mga STEM activities sa klase, minsan solo, no? But how about lessen the burden from our students? Hati-hatiin niyo yung task. Assign them to team activities. Kasi ang nangyayari po dyan, hindi lang po nyo binabawasan yung burden ng mga estudyante, you're also giving them the opportunity to learn from others. Kasi kung hati-hati sila, iba-iba sila ng role, and they come together to synthesize ano ba yung natutunan, matututo yung isang estudyante sa kung ano yung natutunan ng isang bata without having to do that. And that's actually the spirit of that's actually the reason why most scientists abroad are actually successful. Hindi po namin kailangan maging expert sa lahat ng bagay. Pwede po kung may matuto by observing others. So yun po yung kahalagahan. And all these come together to help foster and, improve students' creativity and ingenuity. And then ito po, my second to the last slide. So kanina po nagpe-prescribe ako ano ba yung siguro dapat nyong gawin. Pero ito rin po yung ituturo ko sa inyo, yung mga hindi sana po hindi niyo na ginagawa sa klase So when you are assigning activities to your students, and ang intention nyo po is to foster creativity, wag po sana tayong CCTV camera po. Let's not constantly surveil our students kasi po kapag lagi kayo, if you're always breathing down their neck, nape-pressure po yung mga yan and that kills creativity. Wag po natin gawin yan. Pangalawa, yun pong nakasanayan lalo na sa Pilipinas, no? Kasi yung kultura po ng mga Asyano, dapat strict. Ito yung sinabi ko sa inyo, steps 1 to 10, and then ito yung outcomes. Sabi nga ni Marty, kapag sobra kayong strict at sobra kayong specific about yung expected result, baka po dumating sa point na mandaya yan. Tayo pong mga guro mismo, yung magpupush yung mga estudyante natin na mandaya. So, allow them to fail. Allow them to come up with ways by which they can actually access the answer. Kasi sa totoong buhay lang po, yung 1 plus 1, kahit i-mental mo yan, or kahit yung ibang estudyante ay gumagamit po ng daliri na 1 plus 1, hindi naman po kasi magkaiba ang sagot doon. So, ang mahalaga po dyan is you actually let your students approach a particular problem using their own creativity. Wala pong mali o tamang paraan. Yun po ang gusto kong i-share sa inyo. Pangalawa, prizes po. So sa atin po kasi sa Pilipinas, sobrang glamorized yung awards. And kami po, karamihan, nakikita niyo po yung CVs namin. Okay, we received awards. But then, yung gusto ko, we're not against the reward system. But sana po, whenever you hand these things out, you also take the time to provide feedback sa ating mga estudyante. No? Yung mga hindi nakakuha ng award na, oh, this is actually the strength of what you did. Ito yung unique sa ginawa mo. Kailangan din po nila ng positive reinforcement. Kumbaga, sabi nga po ni John Lloyd Cruz sa isang teleserye, sa kada isang inoohan mo, meron ka 1,000 hinihindian. So sana po, yung mga 1,000 hinihindian ninyo, bigyan nyo rin po ng feedback para po ma-inspire pa rin sila. Wag po tayo dun para dun sa mga matatalino lang. Kasi sa totoo lang po, intelligence is quite overrated. It doesn't actually assure you that you're gonna succeed in life. And then lastly, restricting choices and opportunities. So kapag may oportunidad po dyan sa mga estudyante, let them. Wag po natin silang ididikta na ay dapat ganito lang yung gagawin mo o wag mong gawin yan. Kasi failure is a part of, exploring your creativity. Yun po. All right. So I would just like to cap this with this particular quote by Reid Hoffman. So hard work isn't enough. So hard work is good. Mahalaga po na nagtatrabaho talaga tayo kasi ang mga bagay naman po hindi mabubuo kung hindi natin tatrabahuhin. And more work is never the real answer. So the sort of grit you need to scale a business is less reliant on brute force. Hindi po kasi nadadaan sa puwersa at sa effort lang ang mga bagay-bagay. At ito po yung pinakamagandang nagustuhan ko sa kanyang sinabi. It's actually one part determination. So determination, kapag meron kang vision, willing ka to do all the work that's needed for you to be able to build or to actually create, to realize your ideas. Pangalawa, one part ingenuity. So again, kailangan pong gamitan din niya ng utak. Hindi po hindi lang po ito puro pagpapagod lang. And then lastly, one part laziness. So when what he means with one part laziness is that may kasabihan niya po tayo, if you want something difficult to get done, assign it to a lazy person because that lazy person is gonna try to find the most straightforward path to get to the answer. Kasi po, minimum effort, maximum output. Okay, so I would leave you all with that. So again, maraming salamat po. And at this point, I would like to introduce our next speaker. Okay, wala pala dito sa slide ito ang ating next speaker. Ate Daang, could you please share your screen?
Hold on.
Yeah, and then ate a slide before.
Yeah.
All right, so it's my pleasure to introduce to you our fourth speaker. So she actually happens to be one of my mentors during my undergrad year. So siya po talaga ay teacher ko. So minarkahan po niya ako at nag-take po ako ng exams niya. So I'm actually talking about Professor Joanne Aguila from the Institute of Chemistry at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So Professor Joanne Aguila, I call her Ate Daang because that's her nickname, is currently an associate professor of chemistry at UPLB. She actually graduated from the same institute with a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry degree, cum laude. Hindi na natin sabihin yung year kasi mga bata kami lahat dito. And then after that po, she actually moved to Georgetown University in the US where she actually earned both her master's and PhD degrees in chemistry. So talaga pong she's one of the people that I look up to the most. And then after graduation po ng PhD, she moved to the Netherlands where she actually worked as a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow. So ito po, napaka-competitive po ng mga ganyang postdoctoral fellowships, and she's actually a Filipina who achieved that. And she worked for a private company called DSM Innovative Synthesis. So ito po ay chemical company sa Europe. So after that, she actually went back to the Philippines, and currently she's leading the Aguila Research Group. And that group's main objectives at the moment is to come up with applications of inorganic chemistry and organometallic chemistry for various purposes. So including catalytic organic transformation of biomass and for the production of value-added chemicals. And last but not least, they're also working on environmental remediation. Okay. At this point, let's all welcome Professor May Joanne Aguila. Take it away, Ate.
Okay, thank you very much, Adja. So the first, not the first rather, but the fourth benefit of having STEM teaching. So ito yung naatas sa akin na i-discuss for today is helping build resilience to our students. So what do we mean by resilience? This is the power of grit. So we will help them know when to grit or when to quit. So in Tagalog, ito yung pagiging matatag ng isang tao. So one of the stories that I like when resilience is being told is actually the story of the bamboo, how it is being related to the bamboo. So kung makikita natin iba yung bamboo, ano siya, mataas. Pero kapag may bagyo, mahangin, di ba, ang tendency niya, magbe-bend siya kung nasaan yung hangin. Pero after na nung bagyo, it seems like it's still standing upright. So wala tayong naririnig na may natutumbang mga kawayan kapag may bagyo, unlike yung mga ibang mga puno. So yun yung konsepto ng resilience na tumatak sa akin, na naikwento sa akin. And one of the definitions that I actually like is the one that is posted here on the slide. So resilience is the capacity to cope, to learn, and to thrive in situations of hardships and adversity. So tatagalugin ko, to cope, meaning makayanan ang pagsusubok, to learn, matuto mula sa pagsusubok, at thrive, this is lumago sa kabila ng pagsusubok. So yung tatlong aspects na yon mahalaga para sa pagiging resilient ng isang tao. So bakit nga ba kailangan nating ituro ang pagiging resilient sa ating mga students? So being a resilient, as an individual who is resilient is said to be able to deal with problems and challenges the good way. So tinitreat niya yung problem as challenge, and it is not a paralyzing experience. And they are able to persevere through difficulties. So they are committed to their lives and their goals. So kahit na ano pang balakid ang ibigay natin, so mararating pa rin niya yung goals niya. And then lastly, they are able to adapt and bounce back. Dahil alam nila kung saan nila dapat i-focus yung kanilang time and energy. So sa mga events na they are more, they can give more impact, and they feel empowered and confident. So alam nila kung paano itatackle yung mga situations so they are able to adapt. In fact, being resilient is said to be one of the powerful measures to success than educational attainment or economic background. So mas mahalaga na turuan nating maging matatag yung mga bata. So sa pagiging resilient din, nababago yung pananaw natin sa setback. Yung term na setback, di ba? Usually it is bad sa pandinig natin. Pero actually we can make it good by looking at it in a way na hindi siya permanent. So kung ano man yung mga effects ng challenges na yon, hindi siya magiging permanent. It is only temporary. So you have an optimistic mindset. So for example, you can think of hindi ka gusto ng boss mo o hindi gusto ng teacher, ba, sa perspective ng student, hindi gusto ng teacher yung ginawa mo versus kahit kailan hindi nagustuhan ng teacher yung ginawa ko. So we should never use the never. We should never use the never word in describing the effects of adversities in our lives. And then we have pervasiveness. So yes, bad events can happen. We recognize that, but we do not let them affect other areas in our lives that are unrelated to it. So we do not let setbacks essentially measure the next step in our lives. So for example, our thinking should not be rather, I'm not very good at this. So parang may finality na hindi ka magaling dapat ang thinking is I'm not very good at this rather than I'm not good at anything. Okay, so dapat walang finality na hindi ka na magaling. So pwedeng hindi ka magaling sa isang bagay pero meron ka ding alam syempre sa maraming mga bagay. And then lastly, personalization. So we do not a resilient person do not blame themselves for bad events. They're actually able to recognize which and who is at fault. And eventually, kung sila naman talaga yung may fault, they have the courage to say na sila yung may fault. So for example, we should not think of, I mess up the project because I cannot do my job, but instead, maybe I didn't perform the project successfully because I didn't get the support that I needed. So, as with the other speakers, let me share an experience with you. So I have here in the slide. So my personal experience is actually when I went to grad school. So in high school and in college, as stated in my CV, as you can see. So I'm consistent honor student. So I really been doing well. So in my academics. But when I went to grad school, so medyo naiba yung situation. So I experienced a lot of failures while I'm doing my PhD studies when I was in grad school. And actually, that is a very hard situation for me back then. Kasi failure naman is not a foreign aspect for me, pero base din dun sa mga naging experience ko in high school and college, it's not, hindi ako madalas na nag-fail. So it's somewhat not a familiar experience for me. So ang nangyari, so I'm experiencing more experience, more failure during grad school, and actually it came to a time na medyo mahirap na i-continue yung grad school. I've been thinking about quitting grad school then, but fortunately I've talked to several people. So one of them would be Jeff. So kinausap ko si Jeff, sinare ko yung experience ko, nabigyan niya ako ng advice about it, and another would be Risita Atienza. So binigyan nila ako ng advice and they helped me. And one of the advices that they give is actually to not deal on things by myself. So there are other people around you that can help you and to change your mindset. So originally, my mindset is actually to be the best there is because from past experience, that's what I am. Diba? Na laging competitive, so laging mo tinitignan yung achievement mo against the others. And change that. So they taught me to change that into to be the best version of myself. So instead of comparing my achievement against others, so dapat meron akong continuous growth. Yun yung realization ko dapat. Meron akong continuous growth sa sarili ko. So fortunately, with that mindset, I was able to finish my PhD studies and eventually I became the doctor that I am today. So that's my experience, and I know each one of us has a different experience or maybe similar experience, but actually for being resilient, hindi lang nami-measure yung resiliency sa kapag naka-encounter ka ng big problem. It is actually experienced in everyday life. So we should recognize hardship kahit na maliit lang siya or malaki. Even kids have their own hardship. So that's why it is very important na turuan natin yung mga bata kung paano nila haharapin yung mga hardships nila na mararamdaman nila or nararamdaman nila sa kasalukuyan. So, teaching resilience to students is beyond memorization. Unfortunately, hindi natin siya pwedeng i-memorize lang, so or via calculation or via traditional teaching methods. So, it deals really with experience and kailangan nating isurround yung bata ng individuals na pwedeng tumulong sa kanya para ma-develop yung resiliency sa kanya. And one of that would be changing the mindset. So just like what I did, so I changed my mindset. So it should be what Marty had said, so growth mindset. And how do we do that in class? So maybe you're doing this already in class, but let us emphasize on this. So how do we build resilience in STEM classes? So the how, we should take note that this is both a psychological and physical state. So that's why the first thing that we need to do is to promote positive emotions. So, di ba usually sa STEM classes, medyo takot silang pumasok sa science class or sa math class, yung mga ganon. So dapat lagi nating pinopromote yung positivity sa classes natin. So our class should be a safe environment. So even though there will be rejection, fear, loss, or disappointment, we should take a look into it in a more positive outlook. And we should encourage students to speak up respectfully so they can ask their questions, voice their problems, without the fear na makukutya sila. Okay. So with this, we are helping them actually develop courage and conviction sa alam nila na tama. And then we should also let them know to always fight with mind. So having a thick skin and using debate and not anger-fueled exchanges to discuss differences in opinions. So dapat hindi emotional yung pag-tackle ng differences, dapat using debate. So point out yung dapat malinya lahat ng mga points ng kada aspect ng isang bagay. So the next step would be to encourage them to set up goals that are achievable. So I like it here, it's specified here, SMART goals. So it should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So if we encourage them to make or to set SMART goals, so pwede rin natin silang ma-encourage to reflect kung ano ba talaga yung gusto nilang ma-achieve at kung ano ba yung gusto nilang maging. So with this, na-identify na rin nila yung mga potential obstacles na may encounter nila towards achievements of each goal, and magkakaroon na rin sila ng idea how to overcome these obstacles. In fact, setting a smart goal will lead them to better risk assessment. So, kung less yung risk, di ba, medyo mas okay sa pakiramdam kapag na-achieve natin. And at the same time, we should always give them the sense of accomplishment. So yung pagsiset natin ng goal, meron tayong long-term goal o yung malaking goal or main goal. Pero meron din tayong mga specific goals, yung maliliit na mga goals towards achievement of the main goal. And kapag na-achieve yung small goals, let's celebrate these small achievements. Okay? These small successes. So mas maganda sa pakiramdam yung alam mo na napapahalagahan yung ginawa mo. Next would be, we can build resilience if we help them develop problem-solving skills. So, pag alam na nila yung problema, we can help them find solutions to these problems earlier on. And we should also emphasize na hindi lang isang strategy yung pwedeng makasolve sa isang solution. So, there are several strategies, different strategies depending on the individual. Okay. One of the things that I actually do in class is, for example, if we do problems or if they ask questions, I do not give them the answers right away, but instead, I guide them in coming up with the answers. So I think that's a better way to make them learn. Okay? Kung ginaguidean natin sila how to come up with the solution to a certain problem. And then, lastly, just like what Marty said, so let's normalize failure. So we should reveal the lessons of failure. Diba? Yung fail, as Marty said, it's a first attempt in learning. So we should use failure and mistakes as learning exercises. So, okay, nagkamali sila, meron silang failure. Ang importante, nalaman nila na nagkamali sila, nalaman nila kung ano yung failure nila, and ano yung next step doon. They should be able to learn how to recover from these low points and to rebound stronger, which will eventually lead to success. So let's always inculcate in them that they should learn fearlessly. So dapat hindi kinakatakutan ang matuto kasi hindi naman nakakatakot ang failure. Okay? So to sum that up, I want to leave this. Oh, sorry about that. That success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is actually the courage to continue that counts. So we should help our students. Eventually, we should equip our students with the tools that are needed to face and overcome the challenges. So yung challenges nila ngayon, posibleng hindi na yan yung mga challenge niya tomorrow. So dapat i-guide natin yung mga students natin na kaya nilang harapin yung mga challenges, hindi lang sa pangayon, kundi para din sa kinabukasan. In fact, resilience is the process of becoming. So dapat mapaintindi natin sa mga students natin kung ano ba talaga yung lagay nila sa mundo. So they should have a firm belief about their place in the world. So we should make them be more goal-oriented and be more proactive so that they'll be able to overcome and face the challenges or adversities in the right mindset. Okay, so thank you very much. And to expound on this, actually, I'm going to give you the next speaker, who is a good friend of mine, so a batchmate of mine in UPLB. So Dr. Chester Dabalos has a Bachelor of Agricultural Chemistry, cum laude in UP Los Baños. Okay, he is also a top-notcher in the chemistry licensure exam in 2002. And then he got his MPhil in Cambridge University in UK. And then he went to Hawaii to pursue his PhD in biophysical chemistry. So you can see based on experience, medyo talagang madami na siyang na-achieve. Currently, he is an instructor in the University of Hawaii in Hilo campus. So Chester, please take the virtual floor.
Salamat, Kapitan Aguila. Ita-transfer ko ngayon kayo sa aking screen. Ba't ayaw? Okay, ayun. Saglit lang. Aloha at mabuhay sa ating lahat. So ngayon, gusto ko pong ipamahagi sa inyo ang aking karanasan on how to solve problems. So in order to start my discussion today, gusto kong i-share sa inyo ang isa sa mga quote ng aking paboritong scientist. So sabi niya, I have shook all my problems off like a swan shaking off water from its wings. So ang mga problems pala ay para lang tubig na parang shake off from the wings. So itong sinabi ni Rita Levi-Montalcini. So isa siyang Italian scientist. So bakit ko nga ba gusto tong quote na to? First kasi nanggaling kay Rita Levi. Kung titignan natin ang history, si Rita Levi ay isang Jewish. So she was actually living during World War II. Alam naman natin, ano nga ba noong World War II? Parang hinuhuli sila at ipapadala sa concentration camps. Pero si Rita Levi-Montalcini may courage siya in order to stop all of this political oppression. So nagkaroon siya ng parang secret and clandestine laboratory sa kanyang bedroom. Ang mahirap ba kay Rita Montalcini ay siya ay isang babae? Alam natin lahat na during maybe a few decades ago, hindi po pantay ang treatment ng mga lalaki at babaeng scientists. So nakikita ko si Dr. Montalcini, double jeopardy siya. Against all odds, but she was able to succeed. In fact, naging Nobel Prize siya ng Physiology noong 1986 ata. I-share ko sa inyo, gustong-gusto ko tong picture ni Rita Levi na ito. Makikita natin na poised na poised siya. Tignan naman natin, napaka-elegante. In fact, isa sa kanyang mga nickname ay Regina, the Queen. So, tignan mo, the way na nag-post siya, postura pa siya, napaka-confident niya, parang swan. So, gusto ko siya kasi tinitreat niya yung problem, very well. So para sa kanya, ang problems ay hindi para katakutan, pero ang problems ay kailangang isolve. Yung susunod na slide na ipapakita ko sa inyo, susuriin ko yung nature ng problem solving. First, sasabihin ko kung ano nga bang problem, tapos papaano to nire-resolve. Okay. So anong problem? So ang problem is actually a normal and natural occurrence. So please take note na ang problem ay hindi ito isang sumpa. Okay? So, ang problem, araw-araw to na nararanasan natin. So, kunwari, may pera tayo at kailangan natin i-budget. So, that's actually a part of problem solving. Kung gusto naman natin, if you like to treat it as a game, so katulad dito ng jigsaw puzzle. So, titignan mo, how does the pieces actually suit together in order to make a picture? Ganon actually ang problem solving. All of us are actually natural problem solvers. So i-define ko ngayon, what is problem solving? So problem solving is the art of finding a solution to a difficult problem. So para sa akin, it's not just a process, but it is an art. Actually, it's even more than a science. So it's really an art. So ang problem solving is not actually denial. So hindi mo actually i-deny na mayroong problem na nag-exist. Okay? So mga denial kings and queens dyan, hindi po pwede ito para sa inyo. It's not also concealment. Hindi mo ito po pwedeng itago na lamang. Kasi syempre, kung itatago mo, it's not actually going to solve the problem. And more importantly, problem solving is not running away. So hindi mo to tatalikuran, kailangan mo tong harapin. Kung tatanungin niyo, paano natin to haharapin? Well, we have to face the problem with the right approach. Pero ang question, ano tong right approach na to? Siyempre, it's going to be the scientific approach. Okay? So, nilagay ko dito, ano nga yung scientific approach, to problem solving? First, we have to identify the root of the problem. So, we are not going to only identify the problem, but the root. Ano ang ugat ng problemang ito? So, hindi rin to identifying the consequences or the effects of a problem. It's actually the root. So, gusto kong ihalin tulad ang say for example, ang pagtatanggal ng mga damo sa garden. So, para tanggalin talaga yung weed na yung kailangan i-uproot mo siya. Kasi kung puputulin mo lang yung mga dahon, well, maybe next week tutubo ulit yan. So, kailangan yung root i-uproot mo siya. Tapos, gagamit tayo ng critical thinking skills, okay? In order to find possible solutions, okay, of the problem. Kung sinasabi, ano tong critical thinking skills? So, ang critical thinking is actually, para yung sinasabi natin nung bata tayo, mag-isip-isip-isip ng isa, dalawa, tatlo. So, pinag-iisipan to. It is actually an internal reflection. So, tinitignan natin, ini-evaluate natin yung mga information pina-process natin. Tong critical thinking hindi to padalos-dalos na solusyon. Dapat it has to really internalize and digested over time. Yun ang paghahanap ng possible solutions. And the last one is that we have to select the best solution. So kung sinasabi natin best solution, ito yung katulad ng sinabi ni Jeffrey kanina. Kung gusto mong mapadali ang pagsosolve ng isang problema, humanap ka ng tamad kasi yun talagang pinakamadali ang ibibigay sa'yo. So select the best solution, the most practical, the most affordable. Okay, kung tatanungin nyo sa akin, sinasabi mo yan as scientific approach kasi ang dali-dali namang mag-solve ng problems sa school. Pero actually, hindi lang sa school may problems. Sa totoo lang, ang totoong problem natin ay actually mararanasan natin sa tunay na buhay. Yung next slide na sasabihin ko, actually parang entry ko to sa maalaala mo kaya. So, ang dami-dami ko ng problema, throughout my life. Name it, I think I might have experienced it. Pero yung i-share ko sa inyo are actually the most difficult problem that I ever had. Okay, so ito yung pinaka-complex na problem na meron ako. So, actually noon 2 years old pa lang ang aking anak, nakita namin actually yung symptoms ng Asperger's syndrome. So, ano nga ba tong Asperger's syndrome na to? So, it is actually part ng tinatawag nila na autism spectrum disorder. Okay? So, ang Asperger's syndrome is characterized by unusual high IQ but with poor social skills. So, kung makikita nyo tong screen ko dito, ewan ko kung nakarating na to sa Pilipinas, pero ito picture to ng The Good Doctor. So, ang Good Doctor parang isa siyang surgeon, pero meron siyang autism. So, ang tali-talino nila, pero say for example, hindi nila ma-identify kung yung patient are happy or sad ba, kung so hindi sila tumitingin ng diretsyohan sa mata. So ito actually yung problem ng aking anak. So napaka superior ang kanyang IQ. In fact, 3 years old pa lang siya, nakakabasa na siya. Tapos ngayon 5 years old, he could actually do complex arithmetic skills. Pero yung pagsusulit sa klase nila actually nasa 1% percentile siya ng social skills. So in fact it is even below. So it was really a very a big challenge for me. So ang kadalasang problem pa nila, napaka-sensitive nila sa noise. So say for example, mag-open lang kami ng gripo, parang natutusok yung kanilang mga tenga, tapos every time may break sa patterns, inis na inis sila. So paano namin ni-resolve tong problem na to? Okay? So magbibigay ako ng acrostic sa inyo. So it's actually solve. Okay? So here are some of the strategies in order to solve a problem. Okay, so first, you have to simplify before solving. So, say for example, katulad sa mathematics, na natututunan natin, kung makakita tayo ng perfect squares, kailangan kunin agad yung square root. Kasi pag in-expand mo yung mga terms, naku, lagot ka, gagamit ka ng quadratic formula. So, start pa lang, i-simplify mo na yung yung problem. So, ang analogy nito, I mean sa aking anak na si Mateo, alam namin yung mga stimulus na nag-trigger ng kanyang violent reaction. So, para sa akin, kailangan iwasan mo na yung stimulus na yon kesa naman you have to deal with their tantrums. Okay? Tapos next, letter O, observe previous examples. So ito yung sinasabi nila na magkaroon ka ng parang literature survey. So ano nga ba ang nagawa na noon? I mean, para hindi mo na kailangang i-reinvent pa yung wheel. Kasi pag i-reinvent mo, natural, I mean, mas magkakaroon ka ng time and effort that will be lost. Tapos next, solve is list down all resources. So kailangan alam mo yung arsenal of tools mo. Say for example, kung estudyante ka pa lang, alam mo may textbook ka, meron kang computer na i-research mo lahat. And not unlike us noon, in order to learn a word, I mean kailangan mo pang pumunta sa dictionary. So list down all resources. May app ka ba para mag-graph ng mga functions, ganon. So alam mo dapat lahat 'yan. So nung nalaman namin yung problem with Mateo, tinignan talaga namin lahat ng pupwedeng everything that is actually available from the state. So lahat ng kanilang mga therapy sessions, I mean, inavail namin yan. In fact, bumalik pa sa eskwelahan ng ang aking misis para mag-aral ng special education, para malaman lang namin yung mga theoretical background ng syndrome na ito. Tapos letter V, vanish insignificant concerns. So, okay, so sa math, hindi po ba kung meron kang napakaliit na number, kung i-square mo siya, magiging mas maliit siya, parang ganon. So, lahat ng mga hindi gaanong significant, I mean, dapat tinatanggal natin yan sa buhay natin. Say for example, yung case ni Mateo, ang dami diyan mga chismis diyan kung saan-saan. Well, dinismiss ko silang lahat kasi you will not actually solve a problem pag nakikinig ka sa mga chismis. Sabi ko nga sarili ko, you should know how to evaluate and differentiate a signal from a noise. Lahat ng chismis yan, hindi ko yan papakialaman. And last, letter E, explore every possible solution. So lahat ng mga posibleng solution, then from the possible solutions, doon mo isa-select. Gusto ko lang sabihin na ang pagsosolve ng problems ay hindi linear. Ano siya, parang circuit loop. So kung mahilig kayo sa physics, may mga parallel resistors diyan, may mga series capacitors, etc., etc. So ganun ang pag-solve ng problems is a circuit. Okay, it's not just linear. I mean, may feedback may feedback loop yan. I mean, kung ganito mangyayari, babalik ka dito. So it's actually a very dynamic process, okay? Kaya ang ganda-ganda. I mean, if we are going to see na ang problems lang pala is not to be feared. It is actually just meant to be understood and to be solved. Okay, and gusto kong sabihin na hindi lang theoretical yung sinabi ko sa inyo, napatunayan ko to. I mean, all our efforts have been paid off. So, ngayon, I mean, here is my son, I mean, Mateo can now make some eye contact. Napakahalaga ito. And he started to actually play with us. Tapos kung may visitor, ginigreet na niya. Tapos actually the best surprise that I could ever had, I mean, nung in-evaluate siya, sinabi na pwede na pala siyang mag-attend ng inclusion class. So kasama niya na yung mga normal student, which is actually a very para sa akin problem solved talaga. Okay? So yun po yung aking presentation. Okay, so pupunta na tayo sa next na speaker. So actually ikinagagalak ko na ipakilala ang next na speaker. So tuwang-tuwa ako sa sa kaibigan na ito. I mean, despite all of her achievements, napaka-humble niya at saka napakabait. So this is going to be Professor Dindy Uvoil. So assistant professor siya ng chemistry sa Louisiana. Tapos ang dami niya ring mga work sa industry, so quality assurance and technical manager siya ng isang coating company, consultant siya ng mga polymers. Napakalawak ang kanyang experience. I mean, environment, biotechnology, pagkain, chemicals, lahat yan na-conquer ni Dr. Voiles. So si Dr. Voiles, I mean, just like most of us, I mean, galing kami sa UPLB. So doon siya nag-BS ng chemistry at nag-PhD siya sa University of Houston. So let's all welcome Professor Dindy Voiles.
Thank you, Kuya Chester, for that very warm introduction. So, let me share my screen. Ayan. Okay, so magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Patanghali na po. Salamat po sa for staying with us. So we're on, I think, topic number 6 for today. So ang naka-assign po sa akin is yung fostering adaptability. So sa slide na po ito, I included adaptability is the key skill of the future. And I got this from a human resource magazine. So it tells us that around 65% daw po ng mga bata ngayon will end up working in jobs that don't exist yet. So, dahil hindi pa nag-exist ng mga jobs na to, how do we prepare our children for the future? So, mahalaga po na we prepare them by teaching this soft skills para prepare sila for facing unpredictability and uncertainty. So, bago po ako mag-proceed, let me define what an adaptable person is. So, pag sinabi po nating adaptable, it's someone is able to modify, acclimate, evolve to new conditions or environment. So, medyo kakaiba po siya sa resiliency kasi yung resiliency po, when faced with adversity, yun po yung nagiging response natin. Yung adaptability naman po is our response when a change happens. So ito po yung mga synonyms na makikita natin with the word adapt. So there's change, adjust, modify, redesign, rework, alter, acclimatize, and evolve. So mas pinaka-familiar po talaga tayo is yung konsepto ng pagbabago, which is change. So, yan po yung quote from Heraclitus. Sabi niya, the only thing constant in life is change. So, medyo alam naman po natin ito bilang human beings, na pabago-bago po, every day, every second of our life, things are changing. And yet, marami po sa atin, especially as we get older, medyo nahihirapan po tayong mag-respond positively sa mga pagbabago sa buhay natin. So, ito po i-share ko sa inyo. Kagaya po nung nabanggit ni Sir Chester, I've been working sa mga iba't ibang industries. And kahit saan man po ako pumunta, mapa-academia, mapa-industry, ito po yung mga common na naririnig ko sa mga senior associates actually. Not to single them out, but ito lang po yung naging trend. So like, naririnig po natin yung, we have always done it this way. I have been working here for 25 years. If it's not broken, don't fix it. So ito po yung mga sinasabi ng karamihan whenever they don't want a change. And part po kasi ng trabaho ko is change management. So I get to be the bad guy. But bakit po ba nag-resist ng change ang karamihan sa atin? Well, first and foremost po, when we currently, we like stability, we like status quo. So gusto po natin lagi tayong komportable, and we don't want to step out of that comfort zone. So we are creature of habits. Kapag nabago mo na yung pag may gustong magbago ng mga habits natin, mga routines natin, of course, you don't want that. Kasi nga, hindi siya komportable. Change creates anxiety and fear. So, during the change process itself, medyo hindi nga siya komportable. Kasi nga, madidisrupt lahat ng mga routines mo, ganyan. And then, of course, for the future state, we are scared of the unknown, which stems from fear of failure na nabanggit na po ng mga earlier speakers natin, kagaya po nung ni Marty tsaka ni Ma'am Daang. So ito po yung mga common causes of resistance to change. So, i-share ko lang po yung personal journey ko, paano ko po nagamit tong skill na to bilang scientist, yung adaptability po. So, kagaya po ng mga iba nating speakers, they were able to apply certain skills that they learned in school to their own lives. So, ako po, I'm married to a civil servant right now. And in the past 6 years, we've already moved to 3 different states. And what it meant for me was to find a job that is within the area. So, pabago-bago po ako ng trabaho. And ang main passion ko po talaga is teaching sa college setting. And hindi po palagi may opportunity na bukas for me. So, I had to be adaptable to the environment and I had to be flexible kung ano po yung available sa area. So, ito po yung mga naging industries na napuntahan ko, kagaya nga po nung introduction. So, napunta na po ako sa environmental industry, sa academia, biotechnology and food, and then ngayon nasa coatings industry ako. So, in all the moves, of course, there's always a season of adjustment. Ganyan. So, parang kakasimula ko pa lang po mag-adjust, lilipat na naman po ulit kami. So, nadidisrupt po talaga yung status ko. But because of my training as a scientist sa grad school and even in college, is yun, madali naman pong, I find it, hindi po lang madali. Nag-struggle din ako, pero hindi po siya, for me, it wasn't end of the world pag nakaka-encounter ako ng mga bagong environment. So, bago ko po simulan yung some strategies na feeling ko is makakatulong po to foster adaptability sa classroom, let me share this quote from you. Normally, para siyang rephrased quote from a quote attributed to Charles Darwin. Sabi niya, "It is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change." Kasi nga, di ba, palagi tayong, the world is changing. So, hindi forget matalino ka, you can actually adapt to change easily and therefore thrive and survive. So, yun, how do we foster adaptability in STEM classes? So I have 3 points that I think that I want to share. These are all my personal take. So kung yung may mga professors po tayo, mga instructors dito, mga teachers na nagpa-practice na po ng mga susunod kong sasabihin, and congratulations po, kudos po sa inyo kasi talaga pong you care about your students, kung paano rin po kayo mag-improve as an educator. And so kung hindi pa po, don't worry, we can always start somewhere. And ito po yung mga suggestions ko how to foster adaptability. So first one, be an influencer. Second one, dispel the fear of the unknown. And then third one, encourage continuous learning. So I'm going to unpack each point. So being an influencer, di ba, these days we use social media. So ano ba yung influencer? They are people who use certain products or use certain services personally, and then they share it to everyone. Kung ano yung reviews nila, kung ano yung opinion nila about certain things. So, so in a way, tayo po as educators, we are influencer, and we can't really foster adaptability kung sa sarili po natin, hindi po natin siya ina-apply. Kung hindi po tayo if you don't experience it firsthand. So, maging example po tayo ng adaptability. So, first, let's make sure that we're always updated with STEM news. So, shinare ko po itong mga website, they are free. So, siguro yung iba hindi available sa Philippines. Pero, marami po dyan na marami pong libreng website where you can read news about, ano bang nangyayari ngayon sa aerospace, sa chemistry, physics, and different fields, engineering, and so on and so forth. So make sure po na updated kayo sa mga STEM news, and maybe you can probably spend once a week or once a month just highlighting a news from a new discovery, a new technology, and then your students can talk about it. You can ask questions. Ano ba yung opinion nila? What would be the benefits or disadvantage of certain discovery or technology? So makikita nila ng mga estudyante na, uy, si ma'am or si sir updated kung ano yung latest. No? So makikita rin nila na nagbabago yung mundo. The world is changing outside the four walls of the classroom. And then also, if you're allowed, make sure to explore educational technology. So alam ko po medyo standardized po yung ating curriculum ngayon. So kung bigyan po kayo ng permission ng mga school director or principal, so why don't explore educational technology, especially ngayon na we're doing online teaching. So binigyan ko lang po kayo ng examples, and Dr. Carrasco also gave some examples of educational technology that you can explore and use in your classroom. So ang favorite ko po dyan yung Kahoot, kasi para siyang game show, pero pwede mo siyang gawing pa quiz. And then Remind, it's like it's like an instant messenger system, pero you can use it for as the name itself, Remind. You can remind your students yung assignment nila, or just send them a positive quote or something, and you can also remind them about upcoming exams and what have you. And also Google Forms, you can have a survey, and just if you want feedback, just want to learn in general, how is your class doing as a group, you can ask questions and have a survey. You can use this, and it's for free. So karamihan po nito ay libre na po. So ang problema na lang po talaga natin is yung internet connection natin sa Pilipinas, no? So hopefully ma-improve po yan in the near future. So yan po yung part for being an influencer. So make sure that you're updated with STEM news, and then explore educational technology. So the next point is dispelling the fear of the unknown. So actually, ito po, it stems from the fear of failure. So I'm sure some of you have heard of this, especially kung you've been in education for a long time. Yung binanggit po ni Dr. Carol Dweck sa book niyang Mindset. It's about the somebody nobody syndrome. So a lot of us do not try or do not embrace change kasi we fear that baka hindi po natin makayanan yung change, and therefore we lose. So if we lose, we become nobody, but if we win, we become somebody. So we need to make sure na in the classroom, we don't foster that kind of mentality. So ano po ba yung mga practical things that we can do in the classroom that will dispel the fear of the unknown? So the first one, again, if hindi nyo pa po ito nagagawa, I encourage you na spend some time highlighting some successful personalities, scientists, engineers, and even entrepreneurs. So just tell them their stories. Ano ba yung paano nila na-achieve yung mga successes nila. So gaya nga ng sinabi ni Marty na yung mga successful na tao is they failed many times, and they embraced a lot of changes and transitions in their life. So pag i-highlight po natin yung mga successful personalities, makikita, we're planting a seed to our students and telling them that it's okay to fail, and it's okay to not know everything. So yun po yung magandang i-highlight sa mga estudyante para yun nga na prepare yung emotional intelligence nila when it comes to failures. And then the next one I included is, especially ngayon po na online yung learning natin, you can host career webinars. So you can invite local scientists or even Filipino Science Hub to give you to give career webinars where they could share Ano ba yung mga naging experiences nila sa mga, especially pag nagta-transition from high school to college. So, back in my time po, wala po kaming ganon nung high school kami. Parang, okay, graduate na kayo, bye. Wala pong, parang walang career guidance. So, mahalaga po na bigyan po natin ng paggagabay yung mga estudyante natin, what to expect from high school to college. And then, ito na, sabi na rin po ito ni Ate Daang, ni Professor Aguila. So, instill in appreciation of effort. So, marami pong hindi nag-embrace ng change, kasi nga yun, fear of failure. And karamihan po, yung nasa-celebrate palagi is yung mga matataas ng score, yung 100 palagi. Sa UP po, mahilig po tayong mag-post ng mga top-notchers sa exams, ganyan, which I liked it nung ako yung nagtatop, pero nung hindi, parang naiinis ako. But anyway, make sure po na, yun nga, we need to reinforce then positively yung mga medyo nagfa-fall behind sa mga klase natin na be sensitive po kung ano yung nagagawa nilang tama sa class and then give them positive reinforcement on those things. And then also, constant feedback po. As to kung ano po yung, and nabanggit na po ito ni Dr. Jeffrey kanina, na bigyan ng feedback ang mga estudyante whether they're doing good or not. And we need to emphasize na yun nga, when you put in effort, magkakaroon ka ng results. So if you're failing or if you don't know something, it's not the end of the world. Pwede kang mag-effort pa rin. And then the third thing that you can do to dispel the fear of the unknown or fear of failure is to build community and encourage collaboration and teamwork. So medyo hindi ko po ito expound kasi meron po tayong part of teamwork, fostering teamwork at the end of this webinar. So ngayon po nagtuturo ako sa college. So ang ginagawa ko po to build community online is I have discussion forums. So I post questions na students are required to answer, and then students are also required to comment on those posts. So pwede silang mag-exchange ng experiences nila, depende sa tanong, and then they can also give praises, appreciate kung ano yung mga opinion ng mga kaklase nila. So in this way, makikita ng mga estudyante na, oy, hindi lang pala ako I'm not the only one undergoing these challenges in the class. So makikita nila na pare-parehas lang sila ng challenges. So ma-dispel po yung fear of failure. And of course, you can leverage social media, Facebook, or total ang mga estudyante naman po natin, palagi tayo lahat na nasa social media naman po palagi. Why not leverage that to build community and encourage collaboration and teamwork? And then of course, you can initiate an activity where teachers and students actually collaborate. So yan po yung main, one of the goals din sa Filipino Science Hub is to unite teachers and students together. So meron po tayong Facebook account and YouTube and TikTok kung saan po is, yun nga, may nagkakaroon po ng connection ang teachers and students natin. And my last point is how to foster adaptability in the classroom is encourage continuous learning. So yun nga po, hindi po dapat natatapos ang learning sa loob lang ng classroom. So in the onset of online teaching and during this pandemic, ayun, ang suggestion ko po is manood po rin po kayo ng mga YouTube videos available. Free po yan sa YouTube, and then you can share this in the class. Ito po yung mga website or YouTube channels na personally po pinapanood ko. Vsauce, with the Mindfield, ASAP Science, Arvin Ash, and of course, FilSciHub. So we actually post webinars for your continuous learning. But before FilSciHub, actually, ang pinaka-paborito ko yung Arvin Ash. He talks about particle physics. And hindi ko po yan natutunan nung undergrad ako. So tuwang-tuwa po ako dyan kasi siguro couple of years ago ko lang natutunan kung ano ba yung mga leptons, mga quarks, ganyan. Hindi naman po kasi natin pinofocus yan sa chemistry. So with that, I was able to integrate those concepts in my general chemistry class, telling them na, hindi natatapos sa protons and neutrons. They are not the simplest particles there is. So yun po, continuous learning. And then, of course, ito na-share po ni Marty last week. Ito po yung mga podcast available din po. Pwedeng pakinggan ng mga estudyante natin habang nasa bahay sila. And they can learn from different experts, different scientists in various fields. So ito po, in addition to promoting adaptability, benefits po of continuous learning, ayan, na-develop yung natural abilities, enriches life, opens the mind, increases wisdom, makes the world a better place, and helps contribute to the society. So yun, encourage po natin yung mga student natin to never stop learning. So yun po yung last ng talk ko. This is my last, the quote that I want to leave you. So become a student of change. It is the only thing that will remain constant. So kailangan po na we need to be mindful of this truth in our life so that way we can find ways to help our students prepare for the future. With that, I would like to turn the floor over to to JP Onya. Introduce ko muna siya. JP was actually my student in UPLB, one of the brightest, and he'll be talking about how an effective STEM teaching program encourages technology use. So in 2008, he got his bachelor's in chemistry, again from UPLB, and in 2016, he became a chief chemist at Petron Corporation, and then he got his master's in technology in Finland. And it's a joint program between Abo Academy and University of Tartu. And right now, he's pursuing doctoral studies. Actually, mga alas 5 yata ng umaga dyan doon sa Finland. But he's very dedicated po sa FilSciHub. So talagang gumigising siya na maaga para po makapag-serve sa FilSciHub. So we really appreciate JP Onya. And ang main fields of interest niya ay electrochemistry, teka yung screen ko, hindi ko makita, analytical chemistry and electrochemistry. So, JP, take it away.
Thank you, Ma'am Dindi, for that kind introduction. Let me just share my screen for a bit. All right. Okay. So my topic for this morning is about technology and how we can use technology to boost STEM teaching or STEM learning among our students. So STEM learning opens up a lot of doors to the world of technology. And in fact, the T there in STEM stands for technology. And we have come very far in terms of technological advancement from the time of like stone tools and metal tools. We have developed very sophisticated systems that are of use today. And it's very important for our STEM teaching or the way that we administer STEM education to be able to encourage students to develop technology and also use technology responsibly. And this is because we are surrounded by technology nowadays. And in fact, the way that I'm able to communicate with you right now is a product of technology. So we have internet, so we are able to communicate. I'm right now based here in Finland and you're in the Philippines. So internet has made it possible for us to communicate real time, and through your phones and your laptop computers, and our devices, our cell phones, computers, not only enable us to communicate, but they are also capable of controlling devices. So right now we have computers that are able to communicate and control with other smart devices, like your refrigerators, your washing machines, your light, yeah, even your cameras. So and this is made possible by what is called the Internet of Things, and which is expected to be a central driving force in the technological advancement in the future, the Internet of Things. And this will be our focus. This will be one of our focus in our STEM teaching, so that our students will be able to embrace it, so that they are not fearful of this technology, but they are able to embrace it and use it responsibly to develop advances, or to develop um, innovations in the future. So if you want to learn about in the Internet of Things, you can check out this TED Talk from Benson Hogland, and yeah, the link is posted here. All right. So on a personal note, I was quite lucky to be able to be one of like a developer of technology, because my master's degree here in Finland involved electrochemical sensors, which are very useful to develop like futuristic sensors in the future. So here I am in this picture demonstrating a glucose sensors to a bunch of students. And yeah, our training, our research here in Finland involves developing wearable sensors. So you have your smartwatches, your Fitbits, Apple Watches that monitors your activity. So they have built-in sensors inside of those devices. And our research here is to take it a step further to develop wearable sensors, especially like sensors built in fabrics, or wearable clothing, wearable sensors on clothing, and also imprintable sensors on the skin. Kasi nga po sinasabi nila na that technology can only be truly effective if they disappear. So when you don't notice them, then technology is at its most effective. So I was very lucky enough to be like given this opportunity to learn more on how these devices are developed. So just how can we use technology to boost STEM learning in a classroom setting? And I'm taking the next discussions from this source from the technological education in the US. And one of the points they are raising there is the use of simulations and dynamic representations. And so for our purposes, we can make use of available tools online to provide simulations and dynamic representations to our students, to give them a realistic feel, let's say, of an environment or conditions. So for instance, you have Google Maps or Google Earth to take your students to, let's say, Africa or South Americas or Antarctica to just take a good look on the surroundings. And we are able to do it like even on our phones, no? We have there like 360 views of climates and environments, and we can make use of these available tools so that we can give students a more realistic feel of the concepts that we are presenting in class. So the next one is we can foster collaborative reasoning and use technology in achieving such. So here I am presenting like this class consensus model, whereby you can give your students a a common question to answer, and let them contribute in developing questions, and together students can pitch in providing answers to those questions, so that in the end the class can achieve like a holistic approach to the problem given to them. So this is not a new concept, but we can introduce this to our own classes, so that our approach is not individualistic, but it encourages teamwork and collaboration among our students. So the next one is technology can provide an environment where there is immediate and individualized feedback. So dito na po papasok yung paggamit natin ng learning management systems like Moodle or Google Classroom to facilitate individualized feedback, because as we all know, there's no one size fits all in a classroom setting. So our students have different needs, and so we can use technology to cater to individual needs of our students, and we can make use of these free platforms in the internet. And if you don't have this, maybe you could probably contact your school administrators to get hold of one. Okay. So we can also use technology to develop science argumentation skills among our students, and this can be realized by doing classwork or investigatory projects in the class. So we can make use of available tools or instruments or technologies in the lab, so that our children will have will develop an evidence approach, evidence-based approach, reasoning in giving explanations or solving problems that are given to them. So pwede po nating bigyan sila ng like a problem or investigatory problem that they can use available technologies to present ideas or present conclusions in a science-backed manner, or merong scientific grounding yung argument. Okay? And we can also use technology to have students develop this engineering design processes when tackling technological problems. So if they're given like a task to develop a technology, they can make use of this design process, such as like this cycle presented here, the share plan design check, which encourages failure as an integral part, because you can always improve a system. I mean, there's no limit to where you could develop a system or a technology. So this is just one example, and that we can share to our students, so that there's like a routine approach to solving technological development problems. Okay. And the next one is computational thinking. So as we all know, programming and data science is already big, and it's becoming bigger in the coming years. And so it's a good point to start introducing our students to the concept of computational thinkings, like basic programming or basic robotics. And here at FilSciHub, we already offered a few courses on data science, and you're free to because it's a long topic. So there are a lot of possibilities for data science that will take time if I will present now, but please feel free to check those out on our website and our YouTube channel. And the last one is a project-based and disciplinary learning. So dito na po papasok yung at yung mga mini thesis or scientific projects
that that already involves a higher level of thinking among our students. And our students can work in teams to tackle a research problem. And on that, we can use available technologies on the internet or in our schools, so that they can facilitate research and come up with solid conclusions that are science-backed as well. So I am the head of FilSciHub Research University. You can see my logo up here, and you're very much welcome to join our program here at FilSciHub Research University to develop the research culture among our students. And technology is, of course, a vital part of research. So kaya inaanyayahan ko po ang lahat to join our program, and it's still going on. So ayan po. So here are the points that I presented this morning. So these are the several ways that can boost STEM learning, and there are probably more. Of course, there are more. And what I just can share to you right now is like a glimpse of how technology can be a useful tool in STEM teaching and STEM learning among our students. And you can see here that a common theme among these concepts is like the idea of teamwork, the idea of collaborative reasoning, and a collective effort from our students. And I just want to make this appeal to our educators present in the forum, to create an environment where everybody wins. No, I was raised in a culture where competition is quite big, and if you don't shape up, you can be tagged as non-proficient or not brilliant. And our STEM teaching or STEM education should be focused on ways on how to give students an equal footing or equal opportunity to succeed, because we can only achieve this through collective or collaborative efforts to help one another. Because as Jim Stovall mentioned, when we help one another, everybody wins. So our STEM education should be built upon this notion of collaboration, so that in the end, it's not just one or two students who succeed in this field, but as many as possible, because we need a lot of minds, and there's a great value in like getting ideas from each other and working in a team, so that we can build ideas better and get a more holistic view of the world around us. So with that, I would like to introduce our next speaker, who will also share one valuable aspect of STEM learning, which is teamwork, working in teams. And as I've said, there's great value in the meeting of minds. Okay, so I would just like to introduce the next speaker, Professor Michele Lansigan, who is a senior professorial lecturer at the American University at Washington, D.C. And she obtained her PhD degree, her PhD in chemistry at the Georgetown University, and she is a fellow alumna at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, BS Chemistry program. And she's a very decorated educator. In fact, was it just last month that she achieved this University Faculty Award at the American University for her great work as an educator. And she has 7 international publications and developed numerous curriculum contents and teaching tools, and also outreach activities where FilSciHub is also included, and non-paid extension program. So we are very, very lucky, and we are very blessed to have Ma'am Michele Lansigan on board in the team of Filipino Science Hub, and I'm presenting her to you now. And Ma'am Shelly, you're free to take charge of this screen.
Thank you, JP. Let me just share my screen here. All right. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Actually, tanghali na po pala. Thank you for being with us on a weekend. Kahit lunchtime na, nandiyan pa rin po kayo, hindi nyo kami iniiwan. So maraming salamat po for staying with us and for joining us. So nakita po natin sa previous presenters yung outcomes or results ng isang effective STEM teaching program. So yung topic po na na-assign sa akin, yung last topic po natin for today is something that would really strengthen your STEM courses, and that is teamwork. So ano nga ba yung teamwork? Pag sinabing teamwork sa Tagalog, tinatawag natin to na pagtutulungan. And this is one important skill na talagang kailangan matutunan ng ating mga estudyante at a very young age. It's a critical skill kasi pag nasa workforce na sila, no matter what career path they take, no matter what kind of jobs na kinuha nila, kahit saang kumpanya sila magtrabaho, they will always have to work with somebody. They will always have to interact with people. So it is important that we teach them how to thrive in a team environment. So napakahalaga po ng teamwork. Maraming dahilan kung bakit siya importante. So before I proceed with my talk, medyo take a break po tayo ng konti. Ano po. So please take out your phones. And I'd like you to go to menti.com. Dito po sa baba. And the FilSciHub team will actually put the code in the chat box. So pupunta po kayo sa menti.com and then enter the code 76256086 to enter your responses. I have one single question. So medyo papalitan ko lang po yung screen ko dito. Can you guys see my Mentimeter screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. So for you, what is the main reason why teamwork is important? So meron po akong nilagay dito na 6 na kadahilanan. Pipiliin niyo po yung para sa inyo ay pinakadahilan kung bakit importante ang teamwork sa isang STEM class. So I have here teamwork brings new ideas, it helps solve problems, it is supportive, it builds morale, it makes the job easier, and it makes work fun. So lahat yan ay dahilan para magamit natin yung teamwork. Pero ano yung pinaka-importanting rason? So far po, sa nakikita ko ngayon, merong 5 responses dito. Teamwork makes the job easier. So I think majority of the people at this point would choose this part kasi totoo naman, di ba? Kapag marami tayo, mas napapagaan yung trabaho. So kayo na sa first talk, sinabi ni Ma'am Annelid na kapag nagpe-paint tayo, hindi natin nakikita yung application hanggat hindi natin siya gagamitin. So, halimbawa, i-apply natin yung pagpipintura sa bahay. Kapag isang tao lang yung gagawa nun, it will take days. Pero kapag marami sila or team sila, nagiging mas mabilis. So ngayon, kapag team tayo, it also makes the work fun, and parang nagkakaroon din tayo ng new ideas, nagkakatulong-tulong tayo mag-solve ng problems. Since marami tayo, nararamdaman natin yung support ng community, nagkaka-build tayo ng community, gaya ng ni-mention ni Ma'am Bindi kanina, and of course, nakaka-build din siya ng moral. So ito yung pinakadahilan, maraming dahilan kung bakit mahalaga ang teamwork. So babalik lang po ako sa aking presentation. Alright, so kanina po, nabanggit ko na, kumbaga, start them young. So start them young kasi yung mga estudyante natin sa murang edad, naglalaro sila, nakikipag-interact sa mga bata na ka-age nila. Yung pinapakita ko ditong example, 2 bata na naglalaro. They are using building blocks to make a structure using different shapes and types of blocks. So ang goal nila is gumawa sila ng structure na stable, di ba? So kung ako yung bata, isipin ko yung kalaro ko, gusto ko maganda rin yung gawa niya kasi kapag mahina yung gawa niya, matutumba yung sa akin. At gusto ko rin matibay yung gawa ko kasi pag natumba yung sa akin, masisira yung gawa namin. So at that point, kumbaga natuturuan yung mga bata na wag lang sarili nila yung isipin, kundi pati yung kalaro nila. So it teaches them compassion, consideration, tsaka camaraderie. So from a personal perspective, yung teamwork, natutunan ko rin po siya nung bata pa ako. So meron ako example dito ng children's choir. Kasi nung bata po ako, nung marunong pa ako kumanta, member po ako ng children's choir. And sa children's choir, masasabi natin na isa siyang team sport, kumbaga. Kasi sa children's choir, yung choir, parang yung mga singers, kailangan marunong silang mag-blend ng voices. Kailangan alam nila kung kailan nila lalakasan, kailan nila hihinaan para suportahan yung lead singer. Kumbaga, walang pagalingan, walang nagsasapawan, walang dapat masyadong malakas na boses. Dapat lahat marunong maki-blend. So, bata pa lang ako, natutunan ko na yon kasi lumalabas kami for team competitions. Kahit kung manalo kami, masaya. Kung matalo kami, masaya pa din. So, andun yung value ng teamwork. And I think nadala ko siya hanggang high school, hanggang mag-college na ako, and eventually habang magtrabaho na ako. So, sa grad school, for example, yung thesis ko po kasi is on nanoparticle drug delivery agent. So, nanoparticles. So, since chemist po ako, kailangan kong malaman kung yung nagawa ko bang nanoparticles ay toxic sa cells or hindi. Pero since chemist nga po ako, hindi ko alam kung paano siya mag-work sa cells, hindi ako marunong mag-handle ng animal studies. So, kailangan ko maghanap ng collaborators para ma-complete ko yung thesis ko. Otherwise, hindi ako gagraduate. So, naghanap ako ng collaborators sa biology department at saka sa medical center kung saan po ako nag-graduate school. And natutunan ko sa kanila kung paano mag-prepare ng cells, paano maggawa ng cytotoxicity assays, at natutunan din nila from me kung paano mag-synthesize ng nanoparticles. So para po siyang two-way working relationship. I learned from them and then they learned from me. So natapos ko po yung thesis ko at saka meron pa po kaming publication ng collaborators ko. So it's a win-win for both of us. So dun ko nakita talaga yung value ng collaboration. And sa present time po natin ngayon, kitang-kita natin yung effect ng teamwork sa pag-develop ng COVID-19 vaccine. Kasi hindi lang po iisang tao yung gumawa niyan. It's a collaboration between researchers, between scientists, so biologists, chemists, biotechnologists, andyan din yung mga public health experts, yung ating gobyerno, tulong-tulong para we can get out of this pandemic. So the development of this vaccine, isa siya talagang magandang effect ng efficient teamwork. So, paano natin i-incorporate yung teamwork sa STEM classes? So, I put a statement here. The best STEM classes feature collaboration and teamwork. So, that means we prepare kids to work together successfully in teams kasi this plays a critical role in today's STEM classes. So, importante po talaga ang teamwork. Kailangan umpisa pa lang at a very young age, turuan na natin yung mga estudyante natin to work well with somebody. So how do we build teamwork in STEM classes? So unang-una, bago tayo magpa-teamwork, dapat organize tayo, meron tayong organization. And the first step to that is to prepare for teams in advance. So ano pong ibig sabihin ko dito? Dapat alam natin kung i-group ba natin sila randomly, i-assign ba natin, sila ba mamimili ng groups nila, gano'ng karami in one group. So we have to consider the number and kinds of tasks pati. Lahat ba mabibigyan ng assignment and so on. So we have to make sure that all tasks can be accomplished in a given time frame and that each member will have a task to work on. And then the next step to that is to help students understand the value of teamwork. Kailangan po nilang maintindihan ang value ng pakikipagtulungan. So students become really good team members when they value working together. So ang masasabi ko po dito, let us allow our students to actually share their personal strengths and weaknesses para alam nila kung saan sila makatutulong at kung saan nila kailangan ng tulong. And in that way, parang maganda yung community na nabibuild natin within the group. And then thirdly, we should also make clear goals. Dapat malinaw, ano ba yung goal natin in the end? Ano yung learning outcome na dapat nating ma-achieve? So for example, yung learning outcome mo for the course or yung goals mo para ma-achieve ng student at the end is that they should be able to describe, evaluate, and communicate experimental results. So dapat lilinawin natin yun sa kanila. For example, you need to write a lab report stating your observations, ano yung hypothesis mo, ano yung experimental design, and then pag may data na, how do you interpret those data? So we have to make explicit or clear goals. And to achieve that, kailangan din yung procedures na ibibigay natin is established and straightforward. So kumbaga, madaling sundan. So dapat clear sa team members what they should be working on as a team, what they should be working on individually, ano yung format ng submission, dapat ba video submission, dapat ba paper submission. So dapat malinaw yun sa kanila. So clear instructions just essentially help the team stay focused and on task. And then we should also help students develop successful teamwork skills. So anong klaseng skills yung ibig kong sabihin dito? You can focus on skills such as, showing respect, accepting differences. So syempre sa group, hindi yan palaging magkakasundo, merong differences. So turuan natin sila kung paano, kumbaga, resolve a conflict, how to accept each other, listening actively, accepting responsibility, simply being accountable for your actions. And yung pinaka-important is maintaining a positive attitude. So paano po natin gagawin yon? We should guide our students by setting norms or standards, give the students a chance to actually carry out team conversations. Kumbaga, mag-usap-usap sila, gumawa sila ng sarili nilang, kumbaga, kontrata or guidelines, anong gagawin kapag yung isa hindi masyado nagko-communicate, hindi nag-submit ng part niya on time, and then let them assess their teamwork. Kumbaga, i-reflect din nila ano yung nagwo-work at ano yung hindi nagwo-work. So yun yung mga important teamwork skills na we can help them develop. And then we should also monitor teamwork regularly and evaluate team progress. So magkasama po itong dalawang points na to. So for example, we can have our teams submit draft or we can do what we call as a scaffolded assessment. So halimbawa, gusto natin sila mag-come up with an investigatory project or a research paper. Gawin muna natin, okay, step 1, outline, bibigay tayo ng feedback. Gawin natin, gawa sila ng peer evaluation para alam nila kung paano ba nagko-contribute yung bawat team. And then next, we can have them submit a draft, feedback ulit tayo, and then their final presentation or their final submission. So in that way, since scaffolded assessment siya and we monitor them efficiently, malalaman natin kung may problema and we can help them address the issue early on. So kumbaga, hindi natin palalakihin para hindi dumating sa point na ayaw nilang mag-work together. So evaluate po natin yung team progress. And then finally, yung pinaka-important and sa tingin ko hindi masyadong na-apply sa isang team project is we should leave time at the end of the class or at the end of the project to debrief. So ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Let's evaluate ano ba yung na-achieve nila. Let's give the teams a time to reflect and think about the quality of their work. Satisfied ba tayo sa ginawa natin? Ano yung nag-work during our project? Ano yung hindi nag-work? What other areas can we work on? Tsaka hindi lang yun sa project itself, parang ma-apply din nila yun in their future courses and their future projects. And itong debrief, hindi lang po para sa students, para rin po sa ating mga guro. Kasi we can ask for feedback dun sa project as a whole. So para sa atin, how can we improve, for example, the timeline, the instructions, yung scaffolding ng requirements, and so on. So para pa rin siyang two-way learning system. So ano-ano klaseng examples ng activities ang pwede nating gawin that would foster collaboration sa STEM classes? So una-una, we can do brainstorming as a team. Mag-isip ng solution to problems na as a group sila. So for example, you can give them problems on climate change or so ano yung mga possible ways para ma-combat natin yung climate change or maybe mini case studies on bakit hesitant yung mga tao sometimes to get their vaccines. Yung vaccine hesitancy, how can we address that and so on. So kapag nagbe-brainstorm sila ng ideas, they learn how to accept other people's opinion as well, and that is also a good skill to learn. And then they can also work on calculations together as a team. So ito yung paborito ng mga estudyante ko sa chemistry courses ko. When they solve stoichiometry problems, maganda kung as a group sila nag-work kasi may iba't ibang strategies kung paano nila ginagawa. So natututo sila from each other. So tapos yung isang kunwari hindi niya talaga alam ang gagawin, that person can ask and learn from the team. At saka para sa akin, yung gauge na naiintindihan mo talaga yung pag-solve ng problem is kung kaya mo nang ituro sa iba. So this is a good way to practice teamwork. And then also sa experiment, when you make observations, when you formulate hypothesis and record data and draw conclusions, maganda rin yan kung as a team, and that is where we can practice collaborative skills as well. So in making observations, for example, tsaka recording data, since maraming nakatingin sa ginagawa mo, accountable ka dun sa data na nakuha mo. So, hindi ka dapat nagmamanipulate ng data, dapat yung totoong observations lang yung ilalagay mo, and so on. So, nandun yung integrity, nade-develop yung integrity at saka accountability. And then when you draw conclusions, maganda rin siya kung as a team, kasi nga natututo tayo from the perspective of others. And then we can also have them write reports and give class presentations. So itong last two activities na to, maganda to kung scaffolded, as I've mentioned earlier, kasi we can give feedback every step of the way. So these are just some examples that you can use collaboration in STEM courses. So lagi ko sinasabi sa klase ko, ayoko ngang tawaging group work yung team project. I always refer to it as a team project. Kasi kapag sinabing group, parang it's just a bunch of people together, di ba? Pero pag sinabing team project or teamwork, you work together to achieve a common goal. So I always say, a team is, together, everyone achieves more. So totoo naman yun, di ba? Kapag maraming sama-sama nagtutulong, we can do great things, right? And kapag na-achieve natin tong teamwork in our STEM courses, the end product is that we will have students who understand how to collaborate with others and thrive in a team-oriented environment. Okay? So, dun ko po gusto i-end tong part ko, pero bago ko talaga tapusin, gusto ko magbigay ng isang example ng efficient and effective teamwork. And that is our team behind FilSciHub. So, I'm very, very proud to be part of this team. So, hindi po kami magkakabatch lahat, hindi kami pare-pareho ng degrees na nakinuha, iba't ibang lupalop kami ng mundo. So right now po, nasa Maryland, USA ako, si Annelid, tsaka si Jeff nasa Texas, si Chester nasa Hawaii, si JP nasa Finland, si Dindi nasa Kentucky, si Marty at saka si Professor Aguila nasa Pilipinas. But we are able to come together and work on a webinar. We are able to brainstorm ideas, and that is because we have a common goal. We have a common passion, and that is to elevate STEM education in the Philippines. And so we also want to invite you to the team. We also want to work with you, kayo pong mga guro, kasi you learn from us, but we also want to learn from you. So you learn from us through our webinars, our research projects, our programs, but we also learn from you by giving us feedback. So sabihin niyo po sa amin kung ano yung masasabi niyong feedback sa aming team. And our goal essentially is to help train a generation of learners who we hope will become researchers, scientists, engineers, mathematicians in the future who can be great critical thinkers, who are creative, who are innovative, resilient, marunong mag-adapt, at saka kayang mag-thrive sa isang team environment. And these are the people who we are shaping, who we are training para maging future natin. So ayun po, and to close, sana po may na-pick up kayo sa aming seminars today na mga tips. Just to close, gusto ko lang pong ulitin yung binanggit nila ni Jeff in the first slide. So an effective STEM teaching program encourages knowledge application, it encourages experimentation, fosters ingenuity and creativity, it builds resilience, it teaches problem solving, fosters adaptability, encourages the use of technology, and encourages teamwork. If we have all of these components, and we will have a robust STEM teaching program. And with that, Jeff, I am returning the virtual floor to you.
All right, maraming salamat po Ate Shelley, and allow me to share my screen too. So before po tayo mag Q&A, I would just like to go over a few things. So please let me know. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So sabi nga po ni Ate Shelly, sana po may napulot kayo sa bawat isa sa mga lessons na tinuro namin. So what we're trying to introduce here po, or perhaps reintroduce, because I bet, you know, yung mga educators po natin, you've come across some of these things already. But then what we're hoping that we can encourage you to participate in doing is to adapt this paradigm shift. So hopefully po, dati yung traditional na paggawa ng lesson plan na you'll think about, okay, specific components of a topic na ilalagay niyo doon, ituturo niyo sa isang araw, sa araw-araw. We're hoping na wherever possible, i-infuse po ninyo itong mga elementong to pa isa-isa. And then hopefully at the end of the school year, once you have your science fair or once you have your capstone projects, yung science investigatory projects, sana sa dulo ng school year mahanapan po natin ng opportunity or ng space for our students to actually practice all of these very important skills. So yun po yung hopefully sana po ma-encourage namin kayo na gawin. And then before po tayo mag-Q&A, I would just like to reiterate po yung application period po for our STEM Teaching Fellowship Program. So for our pilot run, deadline is on June 21st. We'll actually contact those admitted to the program by July 7. So ito po talaga ay something that we're looking forward to get your participation. So yung information po niya nasa website po namin and nasa aming FilSciHub Facebook page. And then again, a couple of announcements. I would just like to thank all of the teachers and student groups who participated in this year's FilSciHub's Lions Den. We actually received more than 50 applications from all over the country, which I think is already a milestone. Kasi we heard even for DOST funding calls, medyo nahihirapan po silang makahanap ng mga participation sa high school level. So ito po, our plan here is that yung mga nasa finalists po will help develop hopefully their proposals to help them apply for those DOST funding. So that's actually one thing to watch out for. We will be announcing the semi-finalists po hopefully by mid-June. So watch out for further announcements. And then these are some of the webinars to come. So next Friday po, or next Saturday in the Philippines, we have a seasoned professor, Professor Raymond Monterrey, and he'll actually talk about the grayscale approach to reasoning and general chemistry. So yung mga teachers po natin, if you would like to improve your way of thinking when it comes to chemistry, and this will be contextualized around bonding and solids. Ito po, this is something to watch out for. Si Sir Raymond Monterrey po is actually one of the best chemistry lecturers that UPLB has ever had. So, and I'm not exaggerating. He really is very good. And then June 5th, Professor Dindy Boyles is coming back. She'll introduce everyone to the world of alkenes. And then dito po, I will also introduce you to basic organic reaction mechanism. So paano po ba talaga natin pag-iisipan yan? Paano natin siya ituturo sa klase? And then on June 19th, we have a green chemistry talk by Professor Katrina Vasquez de Paz from Adamson University. She'll talk about green chemistry principles and initiatives. And we also have a couple more talks scheduled for next month, so watch out for further announcements. And then one more thing, something to watch out for po. Wala pang specified date, but this is actually coming in the next couple of months. We're also gonna start an online educational show po on FilSciHub's YouTube channel and Facebook page. This is called Agricaba. So we're going to be introducing experts in the field of agriculture, chemistry, and food science. And this is actually going to be hosted by Professor Chester Dabalos. So watch out for that. This is actually something very exciting, and we're hoping to be able to deliver to do this to help out our farmers, yung pong ating mga Pilipinong nasa agrikultura na wala po sa loob ng silid-aralan. And then, para po sa ating mga guro, karamihan po na ating mga participants ngayon ay guro, we're also going to be launching an online show sometime this year. It's called FilSciHub Ed's Turo. So ang ating pong pedagogy experts na sina Professor Michele Lansigan and Professor Dindy Boyles, they'll actually We will be producing videos where they will teach you, some of the practical and innovative strategies for STEM teaching. So, yun lang po ang announcements namin for now, and then we can proceed to Q&A. And again, we thank you po for sticking out, for staying on, because I know we overlapped with your lunch this time around, and we're very much overwhelmed by the participation that we have seen. Wala po talagang bumitaw hanggang dulo. So yun po, Janice, we can actually open the floor up to question.
Mukhang tuwang-tuwa naman yung mga audience natin. Kasi sabi nila, sulit na sulit daw yung pagstay nila sa talk. Kasi totoo naman, ayan, mukhang napakadaming natutunan ng ating mga educators on how to teach STEM effectively mula sa ating mga world-class science experts. So madaming na-inspire. Sabi nung isang attendee natin, powerhouse daw yung batch ng speakers for today. So thank you very much sa ating mga speakers. Ang pinakagusto ko yung quote na share kanina ng Kuya JP na when we help one another, everybody wins. Because this is the very essence of why FilSciHub community exists. We are here to support our dear educators, and we encourage collaboration among teachers, and so we can all win this pandemic. So yun, namili lang ako ng mga questions kasi medyo kulang na tayo sa oras. One is for Kuya Jeff. Maybe he can answer this question. So being a novice in teaching, it looks to me that fostering ingenuity and creativity is similar to encouraging creativity. How are these two different? Thank you very much.
Okay, so essentially, I mean, parehas lang kasi talaga yan. They go, as I mentioned earlier, they go hand in hand. So if you think about creativity po, so again, it's about like, how one can come up with an original idea. But then you don't stop at ideation. Your ideas should actually be reduced to practice. And how do you reduce your ideas to practice? You have to have the ingenuity. You have to have the ability to build your idea and construct a functional entity. So then po kasi talaga yun. So sana po sa atin sa high school, whenever you encourage students to come up with ideas, dapat po meron tayo dyang follow-up activities where you challenge your students to actually translate your ideas to reality. So hindi po yung konsepto ng robot ay mananatiling concept or drawing lang. Dapat po yan ay ating nagagawa. And this is actually very important. Kami po, I'm working for the biggest petrochemical company in the United States. I'm in the corporate R&D headquarters of it po here in Texas. And kami, yung mga kasamahan namin, puro kami mga scientists. Pero yung mga scientists po, iba-iba rin yan. Meron pong sobrang academic yung thinking. They will actually give you ideas na pang PhD project. But then when you discuss that idea, hindi siya translatable. Hindi mo siya pwedeng scale up. Hindi mo siya ma-convert into a technology. So dito po papasok, for example, din yung analogy, a chemist and a chemical engineer. The chemists can always come up with concepts, with fundamentals, but then ano po ang value ng fundamentals kung wala rin tayo mga nasa engineering area na nag-a-apply ng mga konsepto natin to actually generate value to the society. So yun po yung, doon papasok yung creativity and ingenuity. So they go hand in hand. Dapat po sinasanay rin natin ang ating mga estudyante na hindi lang po yan laway. Hindi lang po yung magsasalita ka lang na ito yung idea ko. It has to be translated. It has to be driven towards reality. Via ingenuity.
So yung pinaka-role ng mga educators natin is to support the creativity of the kids.
Yep. So dapat po binabalanse yan. Okay?
Yeah, meron pang may mag-live question. Si Ma'am Melody Matol. Nandiyan pa po ba siya? Mukhang wala na.
What was her name again?
Hi,
Ma'am
ma'am.
Melody. Ayan pala. Unmute. Ayan.
Okay. Am I audible na po?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question, ma'am, is that we just finished the school year of the first distance learning ever, but even though natapos namin yung distance learning, but I still found this a problem kasi nahirapan talaga ako to convince a learner to adopt distance learning. So if I will ask you, mga professionals, worldwide expert, how should the adaptation of the learners to distance learning to be instilled successfully? Paano po natin i-convince po yung bata na mag-opt ng distance learning kung sila mismo po ay hindi talaga nila gusto ang distance learning?
And kahit
Yes po.
na lang po sa mga speakers.
I think si Ma'am Lindy Boyles po.
Okay, sige. Hello po. Thanks for that question. So, for me, if I were in your shoes, siguro tatanungin ko muna yung mga bata, yung bakit ayaw nilang mag-distance learning. We have to listen to them and get into their brains. Ano ba yung naisip nila? Ano yung mga challenges nila sa distance learning? So from there, you can strategize slowly. Paano mo ba sila ma-encourage to continue with the mode of teaching? So yun, marami tayong naging na-present na ideas today. So you can slowly integrate, you make it more interactive, make it more fun, yung para nababagay rin sa generation nila. And Ma'am Annelid, and I think tama si Ma'am Annelid, nag-present siya ng mga apps or mga technologies or movies na pwede nating incorporate sa distance learning. So ilang taon po yung mga tinuturuan ninyo? Anong age group?
Nasa senior high school na din po sila.
Senior high school. So I would assume marami yan mga social media accounts, marami silang kumbaga active sila sa social media. So you can also utilize that.
TikTok, for example.
Yes, so you can utilize kung nasaan man sila, yung nabanggit yan ni Dr. Jeff na ano ba yung nagtitrend ngayon, and we can leverage that instead of treat them as our enemy. So that's my my thoughts.
Thank you so much
mag-add.
Pwede mag-add si Ma'am Michele.
Ma'am Michele.
So pwede kong i-add doon kasi yung mga bata ngayon, kaya madaming hindi nasasanay sa online learning kasi nagkakaroon sila ng tinatawag na Zoom fatigue. So kung halimbawa matagal na nasa computer, imagine parang buong araw nakaupo kayo sa computer, nakakapagod nga naman talaga yon. So ang laging ina-advise sa amin ngayon sa university is bigyan natin sila ng break. So halimbawa meron kang nagle-lecture ka ng isang oras, every 20 minutes gumawa ka ng something different, something physical. Let's say instead na yes or no question, ipa-thumbs up mo, thumbs down, yung kumbaga something that would make them think and break away dun sa monotony ng lecture. Tapos yung iba pang reklamo na naririnig ko, kaya maraming hindi nagka-thrive sa online distance learning is napakarami daw po ng assignments, napakadami daw ng pinapagawang requirements. So para maging engaged naman yung mga estudyante, gawin nating low stakes assessment, yung kumbaga paunti-unti lang, tapos gagay natin sila every step of the way kasi parang start small and then saka tayo mag-gradually build up. So yun lang yung thoughts ko about that.
I'd like to add something din a little bit. So actually sa UPLB currently distant learning din kami, tapos nag-start kami last semester. Nung first semester actually nahirapan din ako as a teacher. Medyo nahirapan din talaga ako sa distance learning. So ang main na problem ko, paano ko ita-translate yung kung paano ako magturo sa face-to-face dun sa, kasi ang in-adopt kong method would be parang yung sa mga high school, public high schools na parang module, ganon. So paano ko ita-translate lahat ng gusto kong sabihin doon sa paper? Actually, the reality is hindi mo kaya. Kasi syempre iba yung interaction kapag face-to-face. So, ang ginawa ko for this semester would be, parang nag-target na talaga ako ano ba yung pinaka-essential na dapat nilang malaman. Di ba meron naman tayo niyan eh. Meron tayong yung learning outcomes na dapat nilang matutunan. So, ilimit ko na lang doon. Tama yung sinabi ni Michele na na-overwhelm kasi sila doon sa dami ng dapat nilang gawin, dami ng dapat nilang basahin. So, isa din siguro na dapat nating ibigay would be, bigyan sila sa start pa lang, bigyan na talaga sila ng overview kung ano ba yung mga dapat nilang gagawin, ano ba yung babasa para kahit pa paano medyo yung utak nila ay ito pala yung kailangan kong malaman for this session. So medyo na-control na nila kung ano yung dapat nilang pag-aralan. Saka yun nga medyo ilagay na lang natin at this point sa yung pinaka-basic na dapat nilang malaman in accordance do sa learning outcome. Kasi iba-iba talaga din yung learning strategies ng mga bata. So, in that way, we can help them out. Thank you.
Kasi paano po ba yung pagbibigay ng modules every week, ganyan? Binibigyan ng modules ang mga bata? Hindi kasi ako aware sa style nila sa Pilipinas.
Ay, ata. Yeah, my mom is in public high school din. Oo. Every week naman yung pagbibigay nila. Tapos every week din meron din silang assessment. So, ganun yung process na pagbibigay. Scheduled naman daw yung pagbibigay ng modules.
Ay, oo nga, every week daw ang pagbibigay. Kasi hindi rin, ngayon lang din nag-start ang mga teachers. So, pagkagawa nila sa kabigay ng kaya hindi rin na mabigay.
Yeah, and I think nasa overwhelmed talaga yung students kasi sa pamangkin ko, napupuyat sila eh. Sometimes they stay up late at night. Sometimes inaabot na madaling araw. So, yun po. Mahirap po kasi mag-stay engaged kapag pagod. I mean, and that's true for all of us po. For everyone naman. Oo, yun.
Feeling ko, may mag-add lang ako, feeling ko may additional value din dyan na nag-uusap-usap yung lahat ng teachers dun sa grade level na yun. Kasi baka mamaya, lahat sila magsabay-sabay ng deadline. So yan yung sinasabi ni Ma'am Michele, na teamwork. Kailangan it will take a village para mapawork ang distance learning. Kasi kung hindi ko, kunwari kami lahat team teaching, hindi ko alam kung anong pinapagawa ni Ma'am Michele, hindi ko alam pinapagawa ni Ma'am Dindy. So baka mamaya, overloaded na sila dun sa pinapagawa naming lahat, and yet wala kaming idea na yun na pala yung impact dun sa student. So dapat initially, meron talaga kayong pag-uusap kung kailan ang deadline ng mga math problems, kailan yung sa science, kailan yung research na deadline. So kailangan iwasan ng ibang subjects para to give way naman.
Okay. Ito po, and this is actually one very important aspect then that we're hoping to be able to change up with this teaching fellowship. So we encourage you guys to apply to this specific training fellowship po kasi it's the sense of community and collaboration na gusto po namin buuin among STEM teachers, not only within the same school but also say within the same division level, within the same region kasi we're actually hoping to be able to build an infrastructure in a way that you guys can collaborate with one another para po well-coordinated yung construction ng materials, mataas yung quality, and then at the same time, localized ang context. So yan po yung isa sa mga key deliverables that we're hoping to be able to achieve through this teaching fellowship program. So send us your application po, and we assure you this is going to be worth your while. So ayun, di ba may plugging pa? Found the opportunity, so they said the right words.
I-share ko lang, may nag-comment kasi sa chat box. Sabi, sa kami po sa public school, per quarter po ang pagbibigay ng modules. May synchronous and asynchronous class po kami para sa mga bata.
Ayun.
So yun, mag-a-adjust talaga. Ang key ay mag-a-adjust talaga kayo para sa mga bata, I think. Kasi yung learners talaga, sila, although syempre na ina-acknowledge natin na hihirapan yung mga teachers din. Pero yung mga bata, parang mababaliwala yung effort natin kung hindi na naman siya ma-absorb ng mga bata. So tayo, medyo mag-a-adjust talaga tayo kung paano sila matuto.
Okay.
Thank you, Melody, sa question mo.
Hello po, good afternoon.
Yes
Hello
po. Ma'am Mercedes, sige po.
Yes, opo. Being a school head in one of the senior high school here in Bacoor City, we have the same problem. So after the first quarter, one of the observation that we had is some of the students were not able to submit the performance tasks that the teachers are asking for. So which caused them to, of course, to receive lower grades from their teachers. So ang tanong ko lang po, will you have, in your plan, do you have a future presentations on how the teacher can encourage these students to come up with a better performance task that will help them to be promoted in the next level or in the next quarter.
Siguro ako na muna po yung sasagot doon, ma'am.
Yes.
So yung actually that specific topic that you mentioned, ma'am, wala siya sa linya nitong, wala po siya sa lineup namin for this webinar series, but we appreciate that you actually brought this up. Kasi, you know, at the moment pa we're talking about the relevance of an effective STEM teaching program. But then, siguro po, hindi din namin, and we're glad that we heard this directly from you, from people on the ground po. So engagement is another question. And so, you can count on us po. I'm actually, gonna say this, hindi po kami makakapag-commit kung kailan namin to ma-deliver sa inyo. But then, I promise you po, we will capture that. And because that's a very important suggestion po. And hindi po kasi namin din to malalaman without your feedback po. Yung mga tao pong nasa schools talaga. So if engagement is really something that is a main challenge for you, then you know, sabi nga po ni Ate Shelly, let us know what you need. Let us know your challenges just so we know we can actually come up with directed efforts po to address your challenges. So, yun po yung pwede namin gawin. And actually, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, Ate Shelly, what you said at the end was really very encouraging, that you were calling on to our teaching to our educators to reach out to us, kasi it's a two-way process. No, we'll only be able to do our work here at FilSciHub more effectively if our teachers are engaged, if they're letting us know their grievances and their needs. And by the way, nga pala po, I was chatting with Ate Shelly at the other day. Ate Shelly is actually going to be the incoming teacher trainings head of FilSciHub. So, yun po, Ate Shelly is going to be that person for all of us. So, yun po, reach out to us po. And then, Ma'am Mercedes, Pilar po, we really appreciate like this feedback from you. And perhaps at one point po, feel free to send us a message po via our email address para po mas maintindihan namin, ma'am, ano po, yung granularity nitong challenges na to. Just so, you know, that enables us scientists and educators po na mag-engineer ng approach para po sa inyong problema.
Thank you, sir. So actually, sir, I am assigning one of the senior high school here in the academic strand. So we are offering STEM and UMS. So hopefully we will be offering also GAS in the succeeding semester. So when I found this event that you have offered, I saw in the Facebook only last night. So I was very lucky that I registered here. So sabi ko, I learned so much from your sharing this morning, and I'm looking forward for more things that you can share to us educators that will improve the quality of education in the STEM strand. Thank you, sir.
And then, one more thing, ma'am, no, and we're actually glad that school heads like you are participating in events like this. Pero siguro, ma'am, yung mare-request ko lang din po for school leaders and administrators like you is to actually also help us send the word out to our teachers and students as well, that there are platforms like this, like FilSciHub, who are really working hard to, you know, help augment, you know, like your current needs po. So, kasi po, mas maayos po kung mas malawak yung ating naabot. And also, you mentioned, ma'am, that you're also part of, you know, your school is also offering yung UM strand po. So, hindi ko naman po.
When I was a teacher, I was also a physics and biology teacher. So when I saw this in the Facebook, so I really got interested to join this program po.
Siguro, ma'am, i-mention ko lang. So we're working with FUSE po, We're working with FUSE with other foundations and universities on programs like this. Watch out po, because there's something to come for language. So hindi ko po i-preempt yun, but then lumalawak po yung ating mga programa. So, yun po, watch out lang po for those things, and we're hoping that you can help us like spread out the, you know, like the message of platforms like us. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, sir. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you po.
Ayan, so I guess, thank you po. Ayan, so I guess okay na ba? Okay na po yun.
Yeah, that's it for now kasi almost 1:30 na sa kanila. Naku,
4 hours
maraming salamat po sa inyo. But then, kasi by the way po, it's almost 1:30 in the morning kay Ate Shelly, kay Ate Michele Lansigan, at kay Ate Dindy. So, nagpupuyat din po sila. At si JP po, he woke up at 4:30 in the morning. He does that every Friday. Yan pong batang yan, puyat po every Friday. So, just to be able to serve our teachers and students po. So, muli, maraming salamat po sa inyong pagtutok. This is the beginning of the 8-course webinar series. So, watch out for that po. Halos every month po, meron tayong 2 to 3 contents. And then, para po dun sa mga teachers who are interested in participating in our STEM Teaching Fellowship, send us your application. 2-minute video lang po. May instruction po kami sa website. We're looking forward to your submissions.
Yep. And Kuya Jeff, I can probably share the link to the Google form for the teacher fellowship. Dun sa certificates po na i-issue namin, I will also put it in the email issuing that certificate. Yung links po for the STEM Teaching Fellowship pilot program.
Yep. All right. Maraming salamat po. And then yung link sa certificate, I guess Marty, I'm sorry.
Yung evaluation form.
Ang evaluation form ipopost po namin sa Zoom, chat box at saka sa YouTube live chat box.
Yes.
Posted.
Ayun. Okay, maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Classroom picture.
Classroom picture. Okay.
And nasa Zoom chat box na po yung
so you can
yung link sa Google Form.
Yeah. Si Marty ba yung magte-take?
Sige, ito muna. Wait lang. Sige, wait. 1, 2, 3. Wait lang po. Hold on lang po. Ayan, isa pa po. 1, 2, 3. Next, next batch. 1, 2, 3. Last batch po. 1, 2, 3. Okay na po.
Hindi na nakabukas yung camera ko eh. Gano'n ay mabukas. Hindi po nakabukas yung camera ko.
Alright po.
Thank you po.
Maraming salamat po. Kita-kits po ulit tayo sa susunod nating session. Ayun po. Ingat po kayo palagi.
Hello, Sir Jeff. Excuse me, Sir Jeff.
Ay, may nagtatanong. Sige po.
Sir Jeff, how do we know that we are still included as attendees to the next session that you told us a while ago?
Ma'am, we're gonna be posting announcements po, and there will be registration links
through our emails. Kasi sometimes it would be better if it would be better if it would be through emails.
We can make that happen din po. We can make that. Pero you have to register pa rin po via email. Yes. And then
one concern din po. I have actually jotted down in the chat box my concern on it would be better if those who applies for your pilot run would be still taken, because for example it would be by division. Our division is a big division and have big schools with your teamwork and everything that you have discussed now. Would be better.
But if I may qualify lang, ma'am, kasi ito po pilot run lang muna. We're trying to run muna po a small class. Kasi para po malaman namin how to actually effectively roll out the training program. So unfortunately po sa first phase, hindi po namin ma-accommodate lahat, ma'am. But one thing we assure you is that early 2022, we will scale this up po. May plano na po kami dyan para nationwide ma-roll out natin to, and we're also gonna be working on engaging DepEd. So siguro ma'am, Pero yung webinar series, yung eight webinars, everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome to participate po dun sa webinar series. But then yung internship po, we're trying to manage po a smaller class size muna para i-test run muna po natin kasi ayaw din naman po namin na malawakan agad ang ating pag-rollout tas sabog-sabog po yung implementation namin. So we hope to be able to learn how to implement the training course effectively, and then after nun we'll go big, national level po.
Thank you po, Sir Jeff.
Sir. Sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, good afternoon po. Sir, with regards to your short courses about research, nakompleto ko po yung course 1 up to the last po. But I did not receive po the certificate for number 4. Kaya
Sige po. Ma'am, ano po, we'll look into it po. JP, could you take note of her?
Nag-email na rin po ako dun sa email na sinesenda niyo po. And then up to now po, wala po akong certificate nung isang
sige po.
course
We'll
na
look into that po.
Thank
you are
you.
Miss Rodora Galimba. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir
I
Jeff?
took note of
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Hello, Sir Jeff. Pwede mo tanong?
Sige po.
Pasensya na po.
Ay, no problem po, no problem.
Hello po.
Yes, ma'am.
Ay, si Mrs. Hilarde po. I would like to ask lang po yung tungkol sa fellowship. This was the same one that you announced a month ago, nitong weeks ago, But anyway,
yes,
my question ko is this only open to STEM teaching, yung nagtuturo lang sa STEM program, because I am not under STEM right now. Yeah.
Ma'am, actually, ito po. So, yung irara namin is specific to STEM, to the STEM strand po. But, hindi ko lang po kasi talaga ma-announce kasi meron din po sa language na i-roll out soon. So, watch out for that po. We will help promote that event po kahit hindi siya through FilSciHub.
Kasi what I mean, I teach kasi po sa college at saka senior high, pero we do not offer courses like that. Ang strands po namin include ABM, UMS, at saka ICT.
Yes. Ma'am, if you're still teaching po STEM and you would like to develop yourself, we're welcoming you also.
Okay.
We're not hindi po namin actually ma'am, hindi namin check kung ano course offering ng school. And if you notice po dun sa aming application questions, we ask you about to introduce yourself and also talk about what your goals are for the future, because we would actually want for this training program to really contribute up to your development. So if you actually want to become a better STEM teacher after this, then that's what we want. Yun po.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Regards po kay Sir Chester. He was a student of mine in physics.
Oh my God, Kuya Chester!
Chester, if you're still there.
So I actually, Ma'am Lillian, I just want to say po, so if Kuya Chester was your student, then I'm your academic grandson po, because Kuya Chester is one of my mentors. So
I see.
Po. It's good to see you po, and it's I actually just want to say po that it is really most encouraging to see different generations po of teachers still tuning in. Nakaka-inspire po yung makita yung kaparehas yung na seasoned na educators na talaga pong tumututok pa rin po at gusto pa pong ma-improve ang sarili. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat po. Okay.
Okay po. Mag-iingat po kayong lahat.
Okay naman po yung link pala. Pakitry na lang po ulit dun sa mga nagtitry na sa Google Form.
Alright.
Okay na po. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat po ulit. Ingat po kayong lahat.
May ano pa ba tayo?
Bye.
Siguro 5 minutes lang.
We'll leave them here.
Sige, 5 minutes lang debrief. Maraming salamat po. Bye. Ingat po.
Bye.